That music means one thing. And no, it's not my ring intro music as a professional wrestler. It means that BRAP is live. We are back. It's Wednesday night. And it's a little bit after 9 o'clock. I want to give a shout out to everyone that's watching us live right now. I really appreciate it. Do me a quick favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit that bell notification so you're alerted when we go live and when new content drops as well. Look, we have I'm gonna throw this out there. We got a spicy show tonight. We got a spicy show. We're gonna discuss an acquisition that's happened. Someone said I'm in a latex suit. Oh Jesus. We are going to discuss Sony's announcement of their new version of PlayStation Plus, and we also are going to we're going to have a sensible conversation here, folks. We're going to approach this from a place of knowledge, a place of reason, as it relates to the PlayStation Plus versus Xbox Game Pass debate, and how gamers have it all wrong. Yes, some of you are making some really bad takes, and I'm going to talk about it. And I brought some experts here on the panel to discuss these things because there's a lot of misconceptions, sensationalism that I'm seeing, and just, again, overall just bad takes about PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's just wild. And I'll talk about that here in a sec. But I want to introduce the panel first. First, we have a good friend of mine, and I am pleased to call this gentleman a friend because I've known him for such a long time. For those of you who don't know, I was an Xbox Live beta tester. Yes, I helped build Xbox Live. That is my claim to fame here on BRAP. And shortly after the Xbox Live beta, I met Mr. One Bad Mother. And I don't remember what game we met. Back then, it was random. You would just meet random people if you had a good game with them. Hey, let me send you a friend in this fight. And that's kind of how we met. But we got OBM back. What's up, OBM?
Well, what is up, Enrique? Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's good. It's an interesting topic today. I was just thinking about it before, while we were kind of waiting and you're getting the show going. We haven't had a chance to talk about this since the announcement. So aren't you worried that maybe I have one of those takes?
No.
All right.
No, because you're a rational person, number one. Two, while you have your platform of choice, you just love gaming. You don't get into all the nonsense, even though you got banned from a reset era for gaslighting people.
Yeah.
Which I laugh because you totally weren't gaslighting anyone. But
yeah.
Anyhow,
I
man,
can be a little condescending from time to time.
Yes,
So
you can
I
be.
plan-
Yes.
I plan to bring a little bit of that. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it should be some good conversations, man. And I think it was actually the GameSpot forums where at the time Enrique used to fight as hard for Xbox as he now does for Pegasus Nation.
Oh, wow. See now, it's funny. People are going to hear that and be like, "Oh yeah, see, OBM confirmed he's a pony."
I'm being facetious. I'm being condescending like usual. No, we met back then, and we used to have Halo nights and stuff like that, and Unreal. I think
Unreal Championship, man, and Ghost Recon, yeah.
Unreal Championship was one of my favorite games in that generation.
That was a fun game,
good,
yeah.
but it only lasted a few months before everything died. But back then, that was a lot of fun. Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, I think those are some played. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to today's topic.
No, absolutely, man. Like I said, it's great to have you back on tonight. So, and then we also have a returning guest, someone who I wanted to I always have great conversations with him, and was on his podcast 2 weeks ago, and just super insightful, and I think really provides a great perspective that people should listen to and maybe take into account, because he is coming from a place of knowledge as a now, Gabe, I don't want to get your background mixed up here. It's software engineer, business analyst. Is that kind of your background? Am I getting that correct?
Well, so I'm so right now I'm a manager in a company directing operations and engineering, and my academic background is software engineering and finance.
Gotcha. Okay. So and I bring that up because you some of the work you do is relatable to the gaming industry, right? In terms of development, things like that. So but no, man, it's great to have you. I'm happy you could join us. I know it was kind of the 11th hour. But I was like, I got to get you on because you had some great points on Twitter as it relates to, some of the conversation that was happening regarding PlayStation Plus. So, but yeah, man, great to have you back, man. I really appreciate it. We also got my man B Money 101, who may or may not be on Twitter much longer. B, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. It's another great Wednesday night. A lot of interesting topics tonight. Let's get to it, man.
Absolutely, man. And then we got my man from the Sunshine State, Eric Jackson. What's up, E?
Chillin'. How's everybody doing tonight?
Oh,
Good, man. There you are. I forget that you're in Ground Zero. My kids are actually gonna be visiting there tomorrow. With their mom.
You're gonna send them into the zone?
Yeah, just make sure they get back. Make sure they get back out of there safely. That's all.
You make it sound like they're in real life. What's that game? That Ubisoft game? Oh my God!
Dude, we know if the zombie apocalypse in real life is going to originate in Florida. Like I feel like that's a 98% chance.
Yeah. If it was gonna start, it would either be here or Texas.
Texas.
Yeah,
I tell you what, Texas. I tell you what. I played enough video games. I think I might be prepared for a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
I think all of us might be. Right. I mean, look. This is what you get. This is what you need. You find a baseball bat, some nails, right? You find rags, rubbing alcohol, and duct tape to make a healing agent.
Well, you definitely need duct tape. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Duct tape's like a must in every.
That's the first thing you got to go for when you
Everybody fights over the baseball bat. You go for the duct tape. That's the
duct tape.
Smart play.
Yeah, and the Gorilla Glue.
You guys joke, man, but every new place I go to work, I always, after a few months, pick out the 3 people who are on my zombie survival team, and I let them know. Right, I let them know when it goes down. Look for me.
See, that's very key because you do have to weed them out, man, because you don't know if you have lions or deers.
That's right. That's right.
You got to make sure.
My wife got mad. She was like, "Why am I not on your zombie apocalypse team?" And I'm like, "Because it always goes down during the workday. It ain't never gonna happen when I'm actually at home with y'all.
Right.
We're gonna have to hope to meet up."
He said we're gonna have to hope to meet up. Hopefully it works out.
See, he's right, but he's right. You say like we'll meet at the Wawa.
Yeah, I didn't want to commit in that conversation that I would actually be trying. Like, I hope that I would be able to get to them, but that's a decision I'm gonna make in the moment. I'm not gonna give any guarantees.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you survive. You have to make these key decisions. Like, is it safe to get home, or do we keep rolling and pray for the best?
Exactly. Rick Grimes for life.
Exactly.
That's hilarious. Oh my God. Oh man, that's too funny. Well, I think many of us have played The Last of Us and some other zombie apocalypse games. So, and have watched
Enrique on the real. Yeah. I think if something does go down, and people try to base survival on video games, their asses are out of here.
You think so?
they're done. It's a wrap.
That's
a whole different vibe, bro.
You might have some people try to actually parkour in real life, so that could be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, if we're basing how people react on Twitter to things and how the things, if we're basing survival on the things people say on Twitter, yeah, some people are out of here.
Oh, humanity's fucked.
We know Enrique's not making it without a summon, so
Yeah. I'm gonna summon Game Logic. Look, nothing wrong with summons. It's part of the design of the game.
I know.
All right.
I'm kidding.
All right, so let me grab some super chats here real quick. We got Jonas the Dad, the $5 super chat says, "Holy moly, super excited to see backwards compatibility locked behind highest tier paywall. Go PSN, LOL." And then we have Sir X-Man with the $2 super chat says Florida with alligator zombies. Alligator zombies. That's scary. Yeah, that would be scary. Yeah, thank you for the super chat, showman. All right,
but down here it's not just alligators, man. This is the hub for any kind of like exotic thing. If you want, like, if you really want some interesting reading, Google animals that are legal to own in Florida. Like anybody in chat, anybody here, like yeah, you'd be amazed at the things that are actually legal to own, like here. We don't have legal marijuana, but I can buy an aardvark. I can have an aardvark here by the weekend.
That doesn't make.
I'm not even kidding.
That's very
not
interesting,
even joking.
man. Yeah. Wow.
I can go to jail for an ounce, but I can have
Oh, no problem.
I can have a snow leopard.
You'd be like the Tiger King
in the backyard. Yeah. So
are we going to start tonight off talking about the real gaming news that happened yesterday?
What's that?
NVIDIA launching the GeForce RTX 3090 Ti.
Oh yes, I forgot about that. How about that? I'm not surprised. Are you surprised, Game Logic?
It's big money. I guess I am a little surprised that they would put out a Ti at the top tier and still not use the Titan brand name. And then Intel launching the Arc today.
Yeah, I did.
But
see
I know people here hate talk about PC gaming. So
I wouldn't hate it. I just feel like almost every announcement is just another thing I can't even consider buying. So it's like, let me know when there'll be, what is it? Basically, we got the damn it, I can't even think of who those dudes are that are just buying this shit up. So you can't get hold of these.
Well,
scalpers and the miners.
Yeah.
I don't mean us, OB. We would love to talk about PC gaming, but I think the chat hates it.
Yeah, the chat does hate it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No,
well, they hate it because they don't understand PC greatness. So I get it. When you never driven a Ferrari, it's like, why do you want to hear about Ferraris? I get it. But the 3070s I've seen in stock though at Best Buy. They're actually in stock and on Amazon too. I think the Gigabyte 3070 I saw in stock now. So I'm starting to see them that you can actually buy these online, not from scalpers, from actual retailers.
Yep, no doubt.
So, all right, let's what's that?
No, I was gonna say I did want to pick up a PC with a good graphic. Well, that'll be different. I'll talk to you off.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about. There's actually a reported acquisition. Quantic Dream will reportedly be 100% acquired by NetEase later this year, according to reports today. For those who don't know, Quantic Dream is the developer behind PlayStation exclusives like Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human, which I enjoyed. Beyond
also
Two Souls,
one of the OG scumbag developers.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah,
too.
they were trendsetters.
Yeah, they before there was Bobby Kotick, there was Quantic Dream. So, and that's not really. Quantic Dream's actually had some issues internally.
I'm not making light. I'm not really trying to make a joke or light.
No.
There was some crazy stuff.
Yeah, there was some pretty bad behavior, despicable behavior that we obviously do not condone here on the show. A Quantic Dream, sexual harassment, some inappropriate work behavior, just things that just don't have a place in the workplace. But they are. Quantic Dream is, interestingly enough, working on a Star Wars Eclipse project. Now, I've heard that part of this deal is because Quantic Dream is searching for additional funding for what they call their ambitious Star Wars project, the Eclipse project. We did see a reveal trailer of this game. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out, but this is a pretty big acquisition. NetEase has actually did do it. I think it was a $100 million investment. I think at Bungie at one point. So they've been dabbling and kicking the tires, if you will, in the gaming space. But want to throw this out to the panel. Any thoughts on this acquisition?
Other than it was probably one of their last options, not a lot. I mean, obviously that's a studio that had some creative talent, that has a lot of, like you mentioned, a lot of workplace issues, a lot of toxicity And from what we understand, like they were having a hard time hiring people for the project, which is why they advertised it so early. They're trying to recruit, and it wasn't working. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because I'm surprised that they did find an investor at this point, because I don't know that I would bank money on right now with the way the industry is, which is I think is going to a better place where developers now do not have to take the shit that they took, because you can be working at a studio in California one day and go to a studio in the UK the next, because of how common remote work has become over the last couple of years. And I think studios that have toxic work cultures, which we know, was the thing at Activision Blizzard, which is why they were having a hard time hiring, which is, hopefully something Microsoft turns around after the acquisition. But, like all these studios that have these reputations, whether they come out in the media or not, from what I've heard from people in the development community, like development communities kind of know about it. Like they all, it's a small community, I guess, and they talk to each other. They know what's going on at different companies. And that's why these companies right now, they can't rely on, retaining some of the workforce they used to just by proximity, right? Like, hey, this is where I have to work because this is where I live and I'd have to move. That's no longer a thing, and they can just up and leave. And we see a lot more turnover, or people starting new studios, things like that right now. And so I'm surprised, that, but that I guess that like some of the Chinese corporations are throwing the money wherever they can when it comes to gaming, and then just playing the odds. But I don't know. I don't have any high hopes for this right now, because if you're a small company like that, you remove the leadership. What do you have, right? Because that's part of the problem. It's like what their identity, their creative identity, is kind of driven by leadership when you're a small developer. So you get rid of them, you don't have that. So you get rid of one thing and you cut off the thing that makes it go, which was, which is like the issue with any of these small developers. If they end up getting known for having toxic work cultures right now, they're going to have trouble. We heard similar things with Moon recently. So that's my thoughts on it. And not a whole lot more. I don't really have a lot of faith that they're going to turn it around, but I guess we'll see. Maybe they figured something out and are communicating what behind it. We don't.
Yeah, that's a great point, OBM. Anyone else have any thoughts on this acquisition?
Just be interesting to see how it proceeds through regulation. With what's going on in the Ukraine right now, obviously there's going to be much higher, digging into any types of acquisitions that are, occurring with overseas companies, and watching to see how China aligns or doesn't align with Russia will definitely be a thing that has impact on, any more Chinese company acquisitions.
Well, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that, Game Logic. Yeah, interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did see some people comment, say they were surprised that Sony didn't buy them. Given Sony's.
I don't know why. The curve a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't know why anybody would be surprised by that. Like, that relationship has been pretty much donezo for a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah. No, it has.
Well, I heard. I'm hearing my mic is low. Is it still low? I'm trying to adjust it right now.
All right, you sound fine to me. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see. I kind of pay attention to the live chat, but did someone mention that in the live chat? Because I think you sound fine.
Yeah. They said that. They said it sounded low.
It's tough to pay attention looking at live chat and looking at it, the apparent misconceptions about PC gaming. So when you guys are ready to play the games that you have on console on a PC at 144 frames per second, let me know.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, like I was playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands max settings at like 100 FPS. It was gorgeous. It was great. Can't do that on console.
Yeah, when I'm throwing 12 gigabytes of GDDR6 at a game and still have 64 gigabytes of system RAM left over to do the other stuff with, then we can have.
Look at that be like Enrique actually played a game on his PC and over here trying to clown console.
Hey, let me just address this slander real quick.
Enrique, where are you playing Elden Ring right now currently, sir?
I'm actually playing on PC as well, good sir.
Oh. Weren't you playing Elden Ring on PS5, Enrique?
Yes, I was playing Elden Ring on PS5.
Why was that, Enrique?
Because that's where the Souls community is.
No,
That's
you're lying, Enrique.
that's where Luca, that's the person that's going to carry him through the game so he can see the ending.
Let me tell you something. There was no carrying of anything, okay? The only thing I was carrying was my sword and my shield. Now you're being
carrying a big ass cap. That's what you were. What was wrong with that PC version for a while there, Enrique?
I'm glad we got
the superior version, Enrique. What was wrong with it?
It had like a second pause or something. It was nothing major.
It had a couple of issues on.
But I tell you what, I'm running at max settings right now, and it's beautiful, and I'm getting like 60 FPS locked, man. It's great.
Don't blame the PC on the fact that From Software doesn't develop on top of DirectX first and then has to do the port. That's not PC gaming's problem.
That is true. That's a great point, Game Logic.
I feel at this point like they have to start working on like some kind of new engine or something new, or they're going to be like the Telltale developer going forward. They can't kind of hide behind like the whole cross gen thing with whatever their next game is going to be.
Yeah, they're not very tech. From Software, by the way, is my favorite single player developer, at least over the last few years. Amazing at game design. I love Miyazaki games, but technically they're not very. From a technical level, they're not up there. They do need some help on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Game design wise, amazing, but they it'd be great if they could get some people that knew how to code. or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a developer, so I don't know. I don't want to slander anything there, but that does.
I'm glad you admitted that, OBM, that you're not a developer, because I see a lot of people that are on Twitter.
I can play one on the internet too. No, but
they're also CEOs and financial analysts.
I'll definitely help. I'll definitely play the role of that today.
From Software to switch to Unreal 5.
It would make a difference, and it would make porting easier. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're still running on the same engine that Bloodborne started on. Bloodborne was a PlayStation exclusive. PlayStation does not code natively on top of DirectX. It's a translation they do after the fact. So I think that's just residual technical debt that still remains there. That is the difference between how a game launches on PlayStation architecture and then when it's deployed to PC.
Yeah.
Again, let me ask you that. Based on that, knowing are they going to try to power through the same engine, whatever their next game is on the current generation and stuff like that?
I think so. I don't know necessarily next game, but I mean, what I understand that I've read is the comments about how successful Elden Ring was with its 12 million units of sales. But tagged onto that was both the CEO of Bandai Namco and then Miyazaki saying, there was an intention that the single release was not the end game for Elden Ring, right? That there was the intention to kind of build on it. Now, there was lots of speculation about whether or not that would be building out into other entertainment mediums and doing everyone's, current buzzword favorite, pulling a meta. Or does that mean, DLC expansion packs, etc., and some kind of continuing life of Elden Ring over the next couple of years? I feel like at a minimum, at least for that game, there's the intention for it to serve more than this initial release. And so that would keep them on it for, like I said, a couple of years before they figured out what to do next.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah, it's interesting, Game Logic. We used to have people come in here and right before the consoles came out and tell us that the Series X was like a 2080 Ti.
I mean, so a few years ago, maybe I used to think about those comparisons. As a PC gamer, my point is this. I'm going to spec and build a rig that I want to build, and I don't really care how it compares to Xbox and PlayStation 5 because that's not the tail of the tape, right? At the end of the day, and this isn't an offense to anybody, this is just a matter of articulating the technology, right? At the end of the day, a console is an appliance. It is a relatively locked box. There's no freedom of implementation over its configuration and where it exists within your life cycle, right, of your use as a gamer, right? The point of PC is that you can stack technologies, you can change technologies, you can build out as improvements come along. I just swapped on my primary gaming PC, I just swapped a 1 terabyte spinning hard drive out for a 2 terabyte SSD. Right, that defines the life cycle of that thing, right? And now I see levels in Metro Exodus load right before the intro screen even finishes its dialogue. So that's that experience there. It's just
But one thing I would jump in on, and I'm not going to necessarily, I'm definitely not going to be able to compare.
Don't gaslight anyone here, OBM.
No, I don't care. Like, honestly, like I play the console with the controller.
We don't have to ban you like they did a Reset Era, but go ahead.
Oh, you can ban me. I don't care. Anyways, I'll be back.
I'll be back. You're gonna create a sock account and come back.
I'll call you like right during the show. But but no, hey, the one thing I will say about it though is like right now these developers are developing for so many platforms. Like you got the one or the 1X, the PS4, the Pro, the different ones from this generation, all while they're kind of had to move from work from home and stuff like that. And then talking to like developers, and we've already seen it ourselves too, like in previous generations, there's kind of a turning point where, like the hardware, what it is going to be good at. And again, I'm not going to speak to that. I don't pretend to even like care that much. But what the things that they are good at, you're probably not going to see that really leveraged until you see the true, like that wave, that turning point of next gen, games where they're not focused on trying to make it work across generations and things like that, and they can start to like really understand how to leverage this hardware. And Game Logic's right, they are closed systems, but I will say like a lot of what you're getting right now is very diluted from a standpoint of like leveraging what's actually there, and we see that every generation, right? Like there's that turning point that you see, oh, this is what next gen is, and I don't know that we've seen that. I know we haven't really seen that this generation. So to be fair, like I don't really have again, does it really matter how things kind of splice one way or another? I think if you are that hardcore that you care about every frame, every pixel, the PC is kind of still the way it's always going to be the way to go. But for the console guys, like I there's a lot of room, is from what I understand, in terms of like, in like even the APIs that are, they're working with, like, Unreal 5, like they only just getting their hands on like what that stuff can do, and I'm hearing some pretty awesome things. I mean, like, again, it's just very vague, but like hey, you're underestimating like what people are going to actually see. Obviously that's going to translate to PC even higher, but I'm just saying that for people that are on console, like, hey, is this it? Were we oversold? I would say like the APIs and stuff like that, they really, and this goes across the board, developers really haven't got their arms around that stuff, and are truly, showing that. And hopefully in the next couple of years we'll start to see it, but it's usually like the midpoint you start to see that stuff anyway. So
okay, cool. All right, well, OBM, thank you for that, man. All right, so let's.
I doused your gaslighting. See, I can.
No, you were trying to gaslight, man.
And I wasn't even condescending that time, but hey, I keep going.
Let me get rid of the super chat real quick from Borber Country with the $5 super chat. Says unless you use all that power for work, PS5 is a lead platform for game development. Oh boy. Any comments, Game Logic?
You of course don't develop games on a PlayStation 5. Unless you're watching that commercial from like 1983 with the guys using controllers to supposedly program a console. That's not actually how it works. You program games on PC, and with a platform, with a console development kit. Again, it's all built on x86 architecture, which is a PC architecture. Consoles are appliances.
God, I used to love the truth that was told, like in those 1-800 college commercials, and you see like the guys sitting there like mashing buttons. Like, man, I can't believe we get to do this for careers, man. Sitting in front of a CRT.
Oh my God, I remember those.
Game development is great.
What they don't show is that they're the testers, and right outside the door is some toxic mofo. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, like, some poor guy like somewhere just like, just gave all his savings to this 1-800 number thinking he's like, Now going to be like a top game developer mashing buttons, and those commercials were hilarious, man. Call today.
That is funny, man. I do remember that commercial.
You want a career in game development?
Oh my god, that is pretty funny, man. Pretty funny.
Call 1-800-GOTCHA.
Oh man, you know what's funny? E, I bet you like half the people that listen to these shows don't even know what we're talking about. Like I swear to God, I feel like, you know, like I was talking to my daughter. I was like, you know, like I was like, hey, were the kids in school talking about the Will Smith thing? And it's like they did this Fresh Prince thing like on the radio, and she's like, I never heard of that. I'm like, what? Like, and then I realized that happened. What was that? 30 something years ago. Anyway,
Right.
You know? You start to realize how old we are, but
yeah. Man, like, who are these old men fighting on TV?
it's like, what is that? Like, kids look at the CRTs, they don't have any clue. Like,
Right.
you know,
It's
hand
like
them a telephone.
Oscars. What's that? What the hell is an Oscar?
That's hilarious.
Oh,
All right, so let's see, where were we? We were talking about PCs. No, I forgot. Okay. Anyhow, all right, let's get to the meat and potatoes here. So Sony had officially announced its, I guess we could call it rebrand or streamlined approach to. Oh, by the way, I'm going to introduce Gaming Forte, who's here. By the way, I didn't see him pop in, but Forte, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up? What's up?
Ricky, did you call it a rebrand and not a competitor?
Should I call it a competitor?
I don't know what you call it. I'm confused.
I call it exactly what the leak said it was.
A competitor?
No, the leaks didn't say. Well, yeah, some leaks did say it was a competitor, but no, man, that thing was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Just a rebranding and not even an upgrade, a side grade. Basically, say, hey, you already got this. Hey, we're just gonna combine all these things together and consolidate it for you, and give you a couple of features along the way. That's pretty much what they did.
I think that's what most people realized, honestly, Forte. But that's not good for business. That's not good for YouTube business.
Yeah. It was,
gotta be able.
So a lot of people were super underwhelmed by it. I was like, for what? It's like,
I mean, I was like, yeah, this is kind of like more of the same, but
what were they gonna do?
Yeah, but we'll get to that here.
I only had one problem with the whole thing, but other than that, it was good.
Yeah, we'll get to the whole thing here in just a second. All right, so Sony revealed their I guess rebrand, their consolidation of services into one service, which I think is a good thing.
They revamped it. That's what they called it. Revamped.
PlayStation Now is now part of PlayStation Plus, and they so for me, I'll just kind of give my my initial thoughts. I was actually paying the the $120 a month for, not month. What am I saying?
Jesus, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, right. No, it's not.
Can I be one of your kids for a while?
I know, right? No, I was paying the $120 a year for both PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus. So, I am in that PlayStation Plus premium tier, I guess, and I'm going to stay there. There's some additional benefits that I get now. So that's cool. But yeah, I mean, was this like ground shaking, a disruptor of the industry? No. And I didn't think it needed to be. They just did. I guess you could say they probably eliminated some redundancies here and just streamlined things, and that's what they did. And so anyhow, so there's 3 tiers. I'll cover those real quick. There's the PlayStation Plus Essential, which is $10 a month, $25 quarterly, or $60 a year. You get 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts. We don't know what those discounts are, what that means. Cloud storage for saved games, online multiplayer access. So that's going to cost you $60. That's like PlayStation Plus, what PlayStation Plus is now. There's PlayStation Plus Extra. That is gets you a catalog up to 400 the most enjoyable PS4, PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from their PlayStation studios, catalog, third-party partners. Games in extra tier are downloadable for play. That's $15, $40 quarterly, and then $100 yearly. And then there's the premium, which I mentioned that I would have kind of fallen into because I was doing both. I was subscribed to both services. And then there you're getting PS3 games via cloud streaming, catalog of other classic games from both streaming and downloading options from the original PlayStation, PS2, and PSP generations. Offers cloud streaming access for original PlayStation games, PS2, PSP, PS4. And time-limited game trials, which is kind of new, is offered in that tier. So you can, try select games before you buy them. So that was the announcement. Well, let's kind of talk about the announcement. I'll go with you, OBM, and then Game Logic. What are your thoughts, OBM?
Oh, all right. So wait, am I just getting to start anywhere?
But no, just give your initial impressions, and then we'll go through the panel, give your initial impressions, and then we'll talk about all the tomfoolery related to this announcement. But go ahead.
I want to know if you're going to come to my store tomorrow or in June to get this. That's what I want to know. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. So Enrique, me and my son will stop by again. We stopped by over the weekend, by the way. We got to see Mr. Gaming Forte.
Did you see? You guys saw each other?
Yeah. My son loaded.
I've never met Forte in person.
So I'll say the next time we stop over, when we stop over in June, it'd probably to be buy some toys. It won't be to buy any subscriptions to this. I mean,
Forte, he was in there to trade a Series X, wasn't he? I knew it.
No, we talked about how he enjoys his PlayStation 5 right now, though.
So here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I think we kind of initial impressions. I thought, and again, probably don't know where some of this stuff came from. It's probably just Twitter insiders, quote unquote insiders.
Be careful. Be careful.
I expected a little bit more. I did. And we can get into that. And it's at the end of the day, it was a rebrand. It was. I thought, I wasn't expecting day and date, so I'll kind of say that right off the top. I did think that there might be, with a rebrand, they would come with, some interesting announcements that kind of say, hey guys, take a harder look at this. Consider consider upgrading. Maybe we figured out PS3 emulation, things like that. So the fact that I didn't get anything along those lines, it was. Just being totally candid, it was a bit of a like that. I just thought the build up with the media kind of trying to preface it and things like that. I thought they'd hit with a few things I don't know, and I don't know what that is exactly. Maybe even like a Resident Evil, 8 or something like that, which would have been a year old. Even some bigger third party games, something. I did expect a little bit more. And so, but then kind of went back to business. So it doesn't really move me. And I guess we'll talk about it later. But I don't think that this is what we see today is necessarily where it's going to end up still. But we'll get into that in the next round.
So okay. Returnal and Spider-Man Miles Morales wasn't enough for you, huh?
I mean. That is something, but so the thing is, when you think about
I'm just being
sorry.
I mean, no, he's got a Forte. Don't apologize. He's got a point. He's trying to gaslight the audience, man. Let him know what time it is, Forte.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to drive in. I'm here to drive in both sides of this argument, I guess. No, but So that's my initial impression. I'll let everybody else go and kind of come back on the rest of it.
All right. Let me go to Game Logic. Game Logic. What were your thoughts, man?
Sorry, just trying to clear up some misinformation and misconceptions in your chat.
You do the Lord's work. Thank you, sir.
Good luck on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wish you all the best for that because, But
go ahead, I think we've talked throughout the week, right? I mean, in my opinion, Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, I guess what's now PlayStation Plus, which just still sounds weird to me. Those are two programs vectored towards different strategies, right, for those companies and corporations. Sony's PlayStation division has a lot more standalone impact to the Sony corporation than the Microsoft gaming division does to Microsoft. right? Xbox is a much smaller piece of the pie. There are different synergies and things that can be leveraged in execution of the Xbox strategy and certain things that the Xbox strategy is supposed to do for the larger corporation. And that's just a different set of optics and winds up in a different set of decisions that are being made. And we can talk about a little later about some of the technical impacts of probably, why Sony isn't doing day and date, and how that mixes with, strategies that they are already on and strategies that we understand, Jim Ryan has impressed upon his subordinate studios.
Yeah, that's a great point. Forte, man, what are your thoughts, man? Talk to me, Forte.
Oh man, so interesting. So interesting. Like Twitter and YouTube
we'll get into the Twitter
over the
thing.
last
So
over the last 2 days, or day and a half, I should say. You never take leaks and rumors and speculation to heart. You never take this stuff to heart.
When do we learn? When do and this
you never
goes
learn.
for me too.
No one.
I'm talking about myself this time, by the way. So I'm not calling anybody else out.
I know.
It's like, dude, like how many times you got to go? Like, how many times has Lucy got to pull the football before Charlie Brown stops trying to kick that shit?
Look, listen, man. When those leaks and this stuff came out, I was like, "Oh man, that would be really interesting if all this stuff that they said was true." But I'm not gonna believe a second of it. You know why? Because we always keep saying it. People keep saying that. Well, first of all, in order for it to be a Game Pass competitor, they would have to do the things that Game Pass is going to do. And we all knew that wasn't going to happen. Because first of all, Sony has a mantra where they feel like, and rightfully so, that they don't have to throw their games into the subscription service when they're selling 15 to 20 million copies of their games over a course of a 5-year period. Now, are they doing Mario and Zelda numbers? No, but they're getting there. They're getting closer and closer. Microsoft ain't even got even in the door when it comes to that yet. Let's be for real. But ultimately, what this really says is, and what Jim Ryan said was, the door isn't closed at all. It's going to probably be a long time.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time until people probably think they're going to get, what they think this service should be. But for me, it's literally just a rebranding of what I already have. I already have PlayStation Now. I already have PlayStation Plus. I'm already indebted $120 to them when it comes to that over the course of one calendar year. So I'm already grandfathered into all these different services and stuff that they're giving me. So I think the fact that Xbox went in so many people's eyes above and beyond to, be customer, focused and friendly and giving people what they want and listening to the community base. That doesn't say that Sony isn't. It's just that Microsoft is in such a position where they can literally lose money on a service and be subsidized by the $3 trillion company. Well, they're not 3 trillion yet; they're like 2.5 trillion. But still, that's a lot of money that they're willing to, fork over to the Xbox division. And I think this is Xbox's way of basically saying, yo, listen, we ain't gave y'all no money in forever. So we about to definitely, back you guys up. And that's what they're doing right now. Sony can't do that. So with, people, I just think it's a little bit of a overreaction to what the overall tiers of. I do have a problem with the top tier, because I feel like no subscription service should have demos in it. I feel like we shouldn't be paying for demos in general. I feel like that's something you should have by being a fan and purchasing a system no matter what. The fact that they give you a whole bunch of games just by buying the PS5 when it comes to the PlayStation collection, it tells me that there is no reason for them to have to make you pay for a demo. But to each his own. They're going to get a lot of people that's going to subscribe to that tier because they get to try games out and stuff. Now, if it's something like EA is when it comes to like you get it early It is not something you got to wait day in, day of. Like say, hey, if you subscribe to the premium tier, you can try out our games 4 or 5 days early before they release, and all your stuff transfers over. That might be a win then. But if it's just like, oh, you get access to the game and play it for X amount of time, and then make a decision if you want to purchase it, okay, that's fine. But I don't feel like that should be in a service. That's the only thing I had a problem with. Outside of that, everything else is pretty much what I thought it would be, because that's what the leaks kind of said it was going to be, and it was mostly everyone else that was trying to hype it up to be something else. Sony never talked about this service. This service was kind of leaked, and it never came out of the walls of Sony SIE Interactive. And
well, Jim said at one point that they had something coming. He did say
no, that's what I'm saying. But this service in particular, like Spartacus, the word Spartacus was never mentioned by Sony ever. Right. They just said we had something coming, and when the rumor mill hit, everybody was like, "Oh, Spartacus, what's this?" And they started getting tiers and all this stuff. And a lot of the rumors were correct, a tiered subscription service and all this other stuff. But everybody just wanted it to be what Xbox was going to do, and guess what? Sony's not in the position, or do they have to be in the position?
We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah,
doing yet.
Yeah. Well,
Forte, that's what I think about it.
Yeah. All right. That's great. No, Forte, thank you for sharing that, man. And we'll get into some of the points you brought up too. Let me go to E real quick. E, what are your thoughts, man?
First of all, I'll say I think they missed an opportunity with the naming conventions. I don't think the naming conventions are all that sexy. I mean, like, you should be, leaning into your whole trophy thing. Right. Like, this should be like, Oh,
so you think
silver, gold, platinum?
You think that leaked document, not leaked, that fake document that was out was a better naming convention, like everybody else did too, huh?
Oh yeah.
I think it was way better too.
If you're gonna do cause I kind of look at when you get into this many different tiers, like, you're speaking to a specific audience, and I don't know if everybody understands the assignment that's going on there. But kind of touching on your point real quick, I think that top tier, to me, is probably going to get killed faster than anything else. And because that's just not enticing. It's like to say, well, we're gonna lock the demos and all this stuff behind this, like that. That, I don't know. That's a high asking price to have something like that behind,
right?
The paywall type thing. I honestly believe they shouldn't. This is just my opinion. I don't think Nintendo or Sony should be locking the cloud save stuff behind their paywalls. Like, that should be just a thing that they offer, because most tech companies offer some form, and some offer a lower level of it for free, and then if you need more space or whatever, you can always upgrade to the next tier. I mean, from your drop boxes to Apples to everything else, right? Mm-hmm. Microsoft just offers it for free, in their service or whatever. So yeah, I think that's not an enticing bullet point to put in there. To the gaming layman, I don't know if that really matters. I know we cherry pick and hen pick all these different little things, but yeah. But overall, it doesn't move the needle for me to move up from where I'm currently at with PlayStation Plus. I've always said I'm there because I'm subscribed to these services, but if you make it simple enough to me where I don't have to get off the couch and just roll me into something, I'll be there. It's so something like a PlayStation Now, if that was in the lower tier that I'm already involved in, no brainer for me. But I don't necessarily see me moving up to the next tier to get that, unless we, when we get the full rollout of what's going to be in, as far as the library type stuff, that might be a different story. But even with that, I may not, because I've said this on our podcast, I've said this on Crossfire. Time is a commodity as well, and people never talk about that. We're all adults. A lot of us have families. A lot of people who go back and forth about these things, they're always saying they're stretched for time. They barely have time to play games or whatever. So I'm at times, subscription service stuff can be a hindrance to that. And then, are you really still talking value? Forte, like you said, we're rolled into these things, so we're kind of there anyway. But if you really broke it down and you were paying for this stuff month to month to month, would you be asking yourself, is it still a value? I know we have our Netflixes and our Disney Pluses and all stuff like that, and it crosses my mind often, okay, I'm paying this. Have I really used this enough? But yeah, because now I'm sort of in this world where I'm in a barter system with other people.
Yeah.
And family members use my login. So there's the value for that to me. If it was just me solo dolo, I probably wouldn't carry all those subscription services. And if I was going month to month, I definitely wouldn't do any of this PlayStation Game Pass stuff month to month. I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't have time to really delve into everything.
That's a great point.
That's a really good point. Because
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, when you just said the bartering system is the perfect analogy, because I don't have Paramount Plus. Guess what? My coworker does. She has my Netflix login, and I pay for I pay for Netflix for a year. My brother pays for it for a year, and she pays for Paramount Plus, and my aunt plays for Hulu. So I'm thinking, like, man, I really don't pay for as much stuff as I think I pay for, and that's cool. But I do agree. A lot of the stuff that you said kind of rings home to a lot of people. It just comes down to the value proposition. Like, the funny thing is, they didn't change the naming convention of the service. It's still PlayStation Plus. So
it's still PlayStation Plus because to them, I guess for them, for whatever they're seeing, that still makes sense. But nobody, like the PlayStation Now part of it, obviously, you have like people that go and get it, and you have people like mostly probably your hardcores or whatever. But I think your general consumer,
really, no, I'm just gonna say it's really interesting that they kept it that way, because it's actually kind of smart. Because when they talk about subscription numbers and they talk about, people that are in the service, they're probably not going to, not to us at least, when it comes to developers that want to put their games in like the higher tiers and stuff, they'll have more data points for those people. But when it comes to like just celebrating how many people are in the service, they're just going to say the whole number. And think about it. It's already 45 million people on PlayStation Plus now. All the people that are on PlayStation Plus now with regular PlayStation Plus are going to get rolled over to the essential plan instantly. I'm going to be in the premium tier because I have both services, same as Enrique.
Oh, you mean people who are in PlayStation Now? Yeah. That's the funny thing. Yeah, those people are getting rolled over into like the second tier, right?
The second tier, they're going to get
the standard PlayStation Plus people. They're like, I don't know what to tell you, player.
You're gonna either have to move up, or you're gonna be just stuck in. You're gonna just be stuck in the essential tier. But the cool thing about that,
you make that sound so bad, Forte.
Well, no, but the cool thing from Sony is it's a win-win when it comes to like talking about numbers for them, because they can instantly just come out and say in a month that we got 65 million active users in our new PlayStation subscription service, because 45 million of them were already there because of just being on PlayStation, just PlayStation Plus in general. That's going to be the essential tier, people that just play online. And then you got the PlayStation Now side of it that's probably going to get the upgrade to the middle tier. And then the people like us on this panel that have everything are going to get grandfathered into the next tier. I just don't, it's not a bad service, because like I said, it's not terrible, but is it something that you would like stay subscribed to? I kind of think it's the same thing people say about Game Pass. It's like, if there's something there, you'll subscribe to it. But I just don't like the fact that they really didn't show what games are going to be. I mean, they talked about a couple of them, but, the one thing that I will say that Microsoft always has is the fact that they can say that all our first-party games are in there. So if it has a Microsoft Game Studio logo on it, it's going to be there, versus you're waiting for Sony to tell you what's going to be there and what's going to be the games coming from month to month. What's the third-party games going to look like month to month? And I think that's the thing that they have to kind of figure out, how they're going to like entice people to want to stay subscribed to it, because Microsoft has that problem, and people know what Microsoft got coming to the service and stuff, and they still have a hard problem doing it.
Right, let me go. We get B Money in here real quick. B man, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Initial thoughts are just like, just need more information. I mean, like I understood that they were combining the services, and all of that, but like for me, I would have much rather them say like, we are introducing the service. We're building it. We're using the cloud, using Azure services. I mean, we took the time to improve our streaming service, so we weren't able to do relation with PS3 games, but we improved the service with cloud, and this is what PlayStation now looked like before and what it looked like today, and the improvements there. I would, just rather them talk more about it, or at least have some sort of presentation about it, to kind of show like the actual benefits of it. Because like the blog post is cool, like it kind of lays the land of what to expect, but I think it also leaves a lot of questions, a lot of, what exactly are we getting at the end of the day. So initially, it's a cool offering. It's exactly what I thought they were gonna do. Just combine both services, rebrand it. Like Forte said, them putting all the numbers, that's business. They took the Microsoft play. That was 101. They looked over at Microsoft, copied off their paper, and gonna turn it into the teacher, and everybody gonna do the same message. So it kind of is what it is. So that was smart by them. Keep the same name convention, keep the subscribers all on the same type of platform, roll everything together. And that just kind of looks better for business. It looks better for investors. At the end of the day, it looks better for second and third party partners. So we'll see what it is. I think they said it's supposed to roll out in June.
Yeah, June 7th.
So Game Pass is not what it is today, what it was when it was initially announced.
No.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like we gotta wait and see what it is, how this develops. What partnerships come from this. Because like when Game Pass was announced, like nobody was running out to, get it. It wasn't until like they're like, oh, bigger games are coming there, games are coming day and date, and then that's when it kind of got that balloon effect where people were like, oh, okay, this is more interesting. But we just kind of got to see where it goes.
Yeah, that's true. Being people have like revisionist history where it's like they think all these people signed up. It's like, no, a lot of it was rollover. Because I'll never forget the day Forte came and said, hey, you guys know you can do this? And I was like, what?
$1.
It was like,
$1, the $1 deal. The $1 deal.
Yeah, so people need to slow down, and you can also still apply things like, the simple term of, poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. Apply that same thing to the whole day and date argument, because you hype that up in your head, and you planted your flag on that, and it had to happen because it was good for YouTube business. That's on you.
Yeah,
that's not I don't look at that as like an L. I look at that as a company kind of, and this isn't me defending a company. I'm just saying. No. They have it set up to where, like B said, in a couple of years that could look very very different.
Yeah,
but they have a position where they can pivot in and out of things, where Microsoft is all in on it.
Yeah,
they can't pivot, and again, people seem to forget that conversation when Microsoft announced what they were doing. They're like, man, they're putting everything in their day and date. Even Xbox dudes were like shocked by that, like really, because it sounds like a wild thing, but they're all in on it. Win, lose, or draw, they're all in on doing that. So their only other recourse would be, for whatever reason, I don't think this will be the case, but for whatever reason, if it didn't work out, they just have to pull the plug on the program. Because they can never say, we're taking this part back.
Yeah.
Whereas
true.
PlayStation can be like, we can add this in. We can fold this in. Microsoft, they emptied the clip.
Yeah. No, that's a good.
They might get shot later, but they emptied the clip.
That's a great point, real quick, I want to introduce the great Everborn Saga, who's joined us. What's up, Everborn?
What's happening? What's happening?
What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
What's going on? Always a pleasure, man. Always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so this whole PlayStation Plus thing. So, BRAP, you and I got into it on Twitter a little bit. Not really, but
it was. By the way,
was BRAP fighting on Twitter again?
No. I think everyone. By the way, I think you. I wasn't like trying to attack you or anything. I hope you didn't take it that way. And if you did, I apologize. That's not what I was trying to do. But go ahead, man.
No. So my thing with I need to add a disclaimer before I say what I'm about to say. And I know I always tell people don't listen to anything anyone says before the word but I'm going to say something and then I'm going to say but. So I hope people don't take my advice in this instance.
About to get messy. He about to get messy. He put a disclaimer.
Yeah, he put a disclaimer out there.
Okay, so we need to be very clear. Sony does not have to do day and date. They don't have to, for the same reason Doctor Strange doesn't have to come into Disney Plus on day one. It's going into theaters because that's where it's more valuable, right? To them, right? The same way Spider-Man No Way Home has made almost $2 billion. They didn't put that in the streaming service day one because it is more valuable to put it in theaters. And this is a business. And this is what the other thing that I always say, it's not show friends, people, it is show business. Microsoft, definitely not Nintendo. I don't think anybody has that misconception about Nintendo, but Microsoft is not here to be your friend, and neither is Sony, right? They're doing what is best for their business, and their job is to create value for you. And if you see value in it, you will give them your money. That is the contract that we all have.
Everborn, I will add too that their job is to sell you products, like, and that's it through obviously that value proposition, but
no, the job is to separate you from your wallet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But they need necessary. To give you the illusion of what you find value in, right? So that they can separate you from your money, right? That's their job. I don't fault Sony. They're doing their thing. The issue that I took yesterday with Jim Ryan, and it wasn't even really what he said because he's just doing his job. It was more the people who were kind of parroting what he was saying and speaking in absolutes, which I'm about to get into. So my thing is, the notion that a subscription service is inherently detrimental to quality, that was my problem, right? That is my problem with the people that were running with that. It's like, if it's in a subscription service, we can't give you quality games, right? We can't live up to the quality that we're known for. And the idea that if we do something day and date, the quality will suffer. And you don't have to say that, right? You are the hottest show in town. You have the products that are the draw, that are selling 20 million people. You are the belle of the ball. You don't have to, pardon my French, but you don't have to tell me bullshit, right? And that was the thing that bothered me. And then people kind of went on with it. And I can share.
So wait, everyone, was it more that the people, and I know what you're talking about, like people do run wild with that narrative of quality. And I agree to the extent that you can still have quality games, because you see it in Game Pass now. Like I don't subscribe to that because there's games that have released in Game Pass that are of quality, right? Is it more that what Jim Ryan said, or is it more that people took what he said and then weaponized it?
People weaponizing what he said, because it's like, how many times do we have to do this dog and pony show? And I didn't mean that with any pun intended. But how many times do we have to do this?
Yeah, you did. You were like OBM. You're gaslighting your audience, man.
It's Dog and Pegasus show. They
come on.
So
yeah,
how many times do we have to do this where Jim Ryan said something that is beneficial for the company at the moment, and people take it as gospel only for them to be agile? In the same article, like you guys already mentioned, he has said we're positioning ourselves so that if the market shows us that we can make more money doing this, then we will do it, right?
Exactly.
So let us not pretend. It is just more valuable for them right now, and they don't have to, open the floodgates day one. They can do this thing in stages as it makes sense for them. But let's call it that. Let's not pretend you can't do quality, and let's also not pretend that I saw so many people saying I'm happy they're not doing day and date games. And here's the reason why I think as a consumer, you have to make the comparison, right? Every consumer, you're going to decide where you find value, and if it's worth your money, you spend that money. But Sony is asking for the same amount of money, right? Monthly, if you're paying monthly. And I've never paid $15 a month for Game Pass, right? So
I would argue a lot of people are in the same boat. They talk like they do, but they don't.
Right. So, and I could show you the finesse, right? Whenever there's a sale on 3 months of of Game Pass, you get it for $25 or $29. You just push
Target
it to
Black
the
Friday
end.
deal.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I do every year when there's a sale.
Everyone, I've never paid full price for any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I
Right,
always,
so-
when Wario gets busy, I get busy.
Exactly.
Yo, that's true. I gotta mute Wario during the holidays.
Big shout out to Wario, man.
So,
Yeah,
but
big
this
shout
is
out
the
to Wario.
thing. This is the thing. They are asking for the same amount of money. So I, as a consumer, forget about the armchair financial analyst, right? As a consumer with my money, I have to say, this is yet another subscription service. And guess what? Paramount Plus got me because I signed up for the 1 month free and I forgot to cancel it. And now they got me for the whole year, right? And I am that guy.
All of them do that to you, Everborn. Like,
Yeah, bro, you got to be on the quickness, man. Delete.
I am the
Wait.
one who
Wait, are we
sign up
tied in for the whole year? I didn't even. I better pay
See,
attention.
they got
See,
yeah.
that's OBM fine print, man.
oh no!
I guess
Why
I'm
not?
gonna watch
I haven't
Star Trek
hit
Discovery
mine yet.
now.
I
I'm
haven't
gonna
hit
watch
my-
those
my-
Real War reunions.
Yeah, no. I haven't hit my month yet, but I
He
just.
said real reunion.
You know, the best thing about the better thing than learning from your own mistakes is learning from somebody else's. So I
Yes.
appreciate the
Yeah,
help there.
If
All
you
right.
want to succeed in life, look at what I
Yeah.
do.
So
and
everyone,
like-
no, go
No,
ahead,
no,
finish.
okay, so let me finish.
Go ahead,
the
finish
point.
stuff,
Let me
finish
the
stuff.
point.
Want to succeed in life? Try again.
Yeah.
Right. So no, but my point is, if you are asking for a similar price as a consumer, I have to say, well, there's another service here that is asking for the same price, and I, as a consumer, we listen. Everyone has made excellent business cases for Sony. I just made it. Obviously, it's worth more to have God of War come out and you charge people up front because you're going to make money like that. And you can add it in the service if you see fit, if you need to, as a bonus later. That's fine. That's great for Sony. Why do I care how Microsoft or Sony makes money as a consumer? So here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
They raised ticket prices at AMC and I wanted to go see the Batman. So guess what? I spent the money for the ticket. What I didn't go and do is run all over Twitter and say, Batman was quality, so I'm glad they raised the price on me because it's my money and I worked for it, right? So I just think that we, as consumers, we can take our fandom out of it for a second. As consumers, we don't have to cheer on and explain business cases for price increases because that's not our problem. Right. And every time we stand together on something, because I promise you, there's room for movement. Like if Sony said, hey, we're not doing day and date, it doesn't make sense for us, but we're not going to charge you $18 a month. Cool. Disney Plus did that. When they launched, they didn't have the same content as Netflix. So what did they say? We're $5.99, $7.99, whatever they said they were. They weren't trying to charge Netflix money because they weren't offering the same thing. But Sony is charging the same money, so I have to ask the same questions. It's not that I'm saying Sony needs to do what Microsoft is doing, but you are asking Microsoft money. And this is my money, so I have to have those questions. Business model aside, I don't care if Game Pass never turns a profit and Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella never get that parachute bonus that they're supposed to get based on their sales. That's not my problem. The company can go bankrupt for all I care, but I am spending my money on Game Pass and they are providing that value. And if Sony is asking for the same money, then I should have the right to ask, why aren't you doing what this other person is doing? It's not about like Xbox versus PlayStation. And again, I just want to be clear. They don't have to do it, but do not piss in a jar and call it Granny's Pete's tea. That's all I'm saying.
Where have I heard that?
Just PBS us, man.
Yeah, but Everborn, I think I think obviously you're right.
God.
Like as consumers, you ask questions, you determine whether or not something has value for you. But I think that the issue though too is what you just said. People take what you say too, and not you particular, but I had seen people make similar arguments. And they also weaponize it. So both sides are weaponizing things, is what I'm getting at. But yeah, I mean, as a consumer, at the end of the day, you are going to pay for what you find value in. And that's what I keep telling people. It's like if Game Pass is your thing, great. If you want to play the $120 PlayStation, what are the I forget. See, this is why they should have named it the Platinum tier after the trophy system. But the PlayStation Plus Premium, if you want to do that, fine. Like I'm openly paying $120. Why? Because I was paying $120 anyway. And I'm getting some additional feature sets. Like I was already in that model anyway because I was buying both as a consumer. Now, again, I'm not going to begrudge anyone who doesn't want to pay, for that level or maybe isn't interested in those types of services. And I agree 110%. You kind of have to, I guess vote with your wallet, if you will, or make those decisions in your mind. Hey, do I find value in these things? But what's trivial to me, at least, is that people think that for whatever reason, Sony has to do games day and date. I mean, put Jim Ryan's comments aside, and they don't understand that, in Game Logic, you and I talked about this a lot, that they really are using subscription models for two completely different reasons, because they are two different companies, right? And that gets lost in conversation, and I don't understand why it does, but go ahead, Game Logic, because we talked a lot about this, and I think you made some great points. But go ahead, man.
Well, part of it was what I was going to respond to, that everyone had said. Part of the problem is the Twitter dialogue is utilized in two different ways, and people don't make the separation, right? I think what people can comment on and should comment on is what Everborn said, which is the evaluation of whether or not the service is right for you.
Exactly.
And for instance, I made a decision based on how I play games that this service is not right for me because it doesn't deliver some things that I was looking for. Now, that being the case, I then do not declare Jim Ryan a heretic and excommunicate him, right? and say that he's the devil because of his approach to the business. Now, that all being said, I will also say I personally believe and have said many times before that I think Sony has a messaging problem. And so going back to what Everborn said, I too feel like a little of what was conveyed was a little bit of BS. But I think it's true from a certain perspective, right, from Obi-Wan. But this goes back to, like, there's a separation in dialogue, right? Individuals on Twitter, I think, or wherever, full stop right to say whether or not the service is good for them based on what it contains. I think people pile across the line to business analysis, which I don't entirely understand why. I do the business analysis because it partially relates to my job, and so it's like a homework assignment, and it's a test run, right, for how I might evaluate things in the technology space the next day at work. And I get it. It's a conversational piece. And again, I'm not going to gatekeep and necessarily mind if people participate in that dialogue, but maybe separate the two, right? Maybe, right, don't cheerlead, again, what somebody said simply because it meets your narrative and your need to war ride, right? Just declare its value to you, and then maybe separate a little bit, with a comma, right? Your own feeling of what the company's doing, if that's a necessity in your dialogue.
Well, I think that's one of the issues, and this is probably almost its own topic for its own show. But I think we get sometimes lost between what are our feelings as consumers, what are our feelings as people that just like to talk about the industry. I do, by the way, and I get it. It's like
gaslighting.
No, yeah, that too. I have to gaslight Ricky once in a while. But somebody who's in data and analytics, that's just kind of like my natural tendency to kind of look at where's the trend's going to go. And I do love to talk about the gaming industry in that way. But one of the reasons is because I do think it's actually in a very exciting place, which is going to tie into some of what I think about this. But I do think it does help to just kind of separate Twitter narratives that are being used to weaponize and all the who's winning the debate on that versus just kind of what we want individually. And I personally, And just the fine print on me, I've been primarily an Xbox for the last couple decades. I am a Game Pass whore. I do lather up in the Game Pass butter. I don't care, and I think Enrique knows that. That's kind of my thing. But I also, I have said this before. I don't think it's for everybody. It's not the only model that's going to exist in a few years. It does have an important
OBM. I'm sorry, real quick. What you just said.
There we go.
Oh, no.
Is what, Forte?
I said, here we go.
Come on, Forte. Do I need to mute you, sir?
I just said, here we go.
Now you're gaslighting.
Wait, hold on.
Wait, hold on. No. I'm not gaslighting. I'm actually on your side. I'm like waiting for you.
No. What I was going to say was, OBM brings up a great point, because I've had this conversation where people believe, that it's usually Game Pass. That Game Pass is an absolute future, and that this is going to be the industry in its entirety, and that's not true. Like, they are within, and I don't understand why how this doesn't resonate with people. That the gaming industry, and some people treat it as like it's its own thing, and it's, the laws of consumer behavior and how companies operate as businesses don't apply to gaming, right? The fact of the matter is that you have different demographics in the industry,
absolutely.
That you have people that only want to play free-to-play games. You have people that only want to game on PC. You have people that want subscription services. You have people that want to buy content, right? You have people that maybe buy 2 or 3 games a year, and that's it, right? You have people that buy only indie titles. You have people that base their purchasing decisions based on their their economic situation. And those things those are things that apply to all consumer goods. Like Game Logic, you refer to consoles as appliances. But
hey, BRAP, to that end though,
fits with that though.
To that end, I think you're onto something, because I feel like a lot of people, and I'm talking about like, it's not just like the Twitter wars, but like Xbox guys and Sony guys talk about Game Pass as if it is the only revenue stream that Microsoft is looking for, and the fact is,
no, they're not.
It is right.
Even with them, it's not the only thing, right? Like even they wouldn't be investing the way that. Yeah, keep going. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah. So it's sort of, Microsoft is still trying to sell games as well. They are still very heavily. A large portion of their revenue is going to come from microtransactions and all those things. So it is not just about the subscription. And I feel like whenever we're having these conversations, again, it's the armchair financial analyst. Whenever we're having these things, they're only looking at these things in terms of what will the subscription service, the revenue from the subscription service, when there's so many other revenue streams from this. And that's before we even get into the licensing of these IPs and merchandising and things like
the meta
along that line, right? Oh God, stop it, please.
My
point is,
what's your meta coming?
are very diverse,
yeah,
right? And subscriptions are only a part of them, and that goes for Microsoft and it goes for Sony.
Well,
I think the subscription.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I said I think y'all heated. I see it. I think
Enrique cut me off. I got to finish my sentence.
No, go. I respect you, sir. So go
Forte,
ahead.
Let OBM finish, man. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, OBM, but you just spoke.
You're not gonna let him finish. I'm gonna let him finish.
I'm messing with you, sort of. It was like 5 minutes ago he cut me off, but I'm just messing with you.
We call Forte Exxon.
It was a good point. It's good points. It's not the only way. It is an important way, though. I do think if you're trying to look at, and I'm going to end up chasing squirrels here, but if you look at where kind of the industry is going, why people are investing, the reason they're investing is because they see gaming becoming more ubiquitous and like being everywhere, and as it can be everywhere, you want to appeal to all different types of bases, and the subscription is going to help bridge some gaps in the AAA market. If it wasn't, or if the companies didn't believe that was going to happen, that they're going to be able to reach more consumers in the next few years, you wouldn't see the investment you're seeing. But I wanted to step back because part of like we talked again about the weaponizing of Twitter and things like that and those narratives and people always kind of coming from this angle of I want to win this argument. Personally, and I'm very consistent with this, I want to see these companies as corporate. I don't want to see us as people who like PlayStation or Xbox get violent with each other on Twitter. I want to see these corporations get violent with each other, though. I want to see them like as a UFC fight. I want this to go down to late rounds. I want to see blood all over the place. I want it, and even as somebody that's preferred to game on Xbox, for 20 years, who does have a PlayStation, I am looking forward to them hitting Microsoft in this space as well, especially since it's something that obviously I value, right? Like I can only see it being better for consumers on both sides, for myself. And personally, when I've heard Jim Ryan talk over the last few years, and he kind of, I feel like he foreshadows, he's talked about the fact that he wants God of War played by more than 20 million people, right? Like what he's talking about is that ubiquity of gaming. But today Sony's not there, right? Like their ecosystem is a console. That console, they cannot meet demand. They don't have the PC infrastructure right now, the PC storefront. They have to start up one of those, and they got to figure out how to get the third-party partners over there to kind of bring them in. So if they do their subscription there, they can translate it. We're not in the world where streaming is yet at that point where it's good enough for a lot of markets. Most companies, and I know consumers on both sides kind of pushing back against this, but most corporations believe someday they will be, it will be good enough. And that is why the gaming market is such a hot investment right now. They just think that over time they're going to reach more people, and subscriptions will play a piece. But help
me out. So one of the things you said, right, was talking about Jim Ryan targeting Ubiquity. One of the things that I feel is I feel like that's where their strategies don't have parity, right? That
not today,
or I don't know that they ever will. I mean, under Jim Ryan's leadership, or that would be like the Xbox Play is about bringing people into the ecosystem with a zero barrier to entry, right? In terms of hardware purchase, right?
It's zero.
Right, and that's why Xbox Cloud Gaming is enabled so that people can play on the phones that they've already purchased, right? And so that a kid in India or some other place in Southwest Asia, right, can access the service without necessarily having to have a green and black box.
Right, I agree with
PlayStation's approach is that you need to essentially have a piece of Sony hardware. And when Jim Ryan has talked about, wanting more than 20 million people to be able to play God of War, I thought he was pretty specific that his reference was that he wanted people to be able to play that on PC.
That's part of it.
Can I add something to that point? Another thing, like I was never under any like misconception or I never thought that they were going to go day and date right now. And I think a lot of people underestimate how much Microsoft relies on, I think, Steam sales and PC sales to kind of subsidize the fact that those games are in that those bigger games are in that service, right? And I don't know that Sony is ready today to say that, I don't know that their development pipelines today are ready to go day and date PC.
Oh, they're absolutely not. I mean, the thing I was talking about on the thread today for Sony to go day and date, and again, this is where I feel like Jim Ryan said part of a message and not the whole thing. I believe, this is my perception, that Sony's desire is to maintain their current release cadence. And in fact, we have awareness that what Jim Ryan has expressed to the top tier first party studios, he wants them to actually improve their cadence and buy him an additional, again, this is going to be a swag and a guess, I'm going to call it 2 to 6 months, right, in their release pipelines, so that in aggregate over the life cycle time period of an individual SKU, the PlayStation 5, he will get more net releases per life cycle, right, resulting in more revenue. In order for them to do that and go day and date on a tiered subscription service that includes the ability to stream, right? There's a PlayStation 5 configuration managed version, right? There is as long as they continue to do it, there is a PlayStation 4 configuration managed version. There is then a cloud streamable configuration managed version that is not homogeneous and the same as those other two versions. That means additional tooling and pipeline work has to be done. That means additional extensions have to be built onto the Agile release train, or what we call an ART. And that means that that version has to be prepared for deployment, and it has to have an O&M tail, an operations and maintenance tail, that goes along with it. All of that is more people, more tools, additional investment, additional costs. Then there's a consumption rate, right, for when those things are streamed. That's going to end up being paid back to Microsoft, because it's, as far as I understand, going to be streamed on Azure. So I think, in his message, what he said, in his saying, it would hit their profitability, it would hit, they wouldn't be able to do the same amount of work within the same amount of time and maintain the same level of quality. That is where I think the quality statement comes in, is that given the same finite amount of time in a release cadence, they couldn't do the same amount of work. He's right? He messaged it in kind of a mealy-mouthed, like talking out of the side of his mouth kind of way that wasn't necessarily transparent unless you understand all of that, blood and guts. But I get that. So I don't know that they would be able to do that until they do a lot of things behind the scenes, and they are able to build that up and start rolling it out. And Nix's plays into that, but Nix's obviously can't take every AAA title
that's
from 6 big studios, right, and release them and maintain the same release cadence, and better yet, improve it, right? And that's just for the PC version of the release. So I mean, there's stuff caught up in there.
So
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I'll be real quick, BRAP and OBM.
No, go ahead, Forte is an evil laugh.
to that end, right? This is also why, I never really expected Sony to do dual entitlement for when they had their PC releases, right? I know a lot of people get on them to say, hey, why do I have to buy this game again if I already bought it on the PS4? But they don't own a PC storefront, right? So they can't do sort of dual entitlement like that. And again, that's not your problem as the customer, that's a business problem. But this is the thing. And we've seen this, right? I think there's a lot of analogies you can make to the mobile market, right? Like Apple is very vertically integrated, and a lot of what they do is designed around the hardware that they sell you, the phones, right? And now they've created several services and peripherals around that hardware. So you're in that ecosystem, but there is a ceiling there, right? And I was talking about that in one of the threads earlier today. Apple is wildly successful being vertically integrated, having things tied to their hardware, right? And they make peripherals, and you don't want to leave. But once you have sort of reached the amount of people, and I know I said I was going to be short, but once you've reached sort of the max number of people that you can address, that when your user base growth kind of stalls, then you have to kind of extract revenue from your base, and they're going to try to find new ways to do that. And I just think we have to be mindful of that, because I'm paying Apple way more money every month than I would like to.
You know how Apple does that? They repackage an iPhone 8 every other year and they sell it to you as a new SE phone.
No. Listen, like I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is them literally harassing me, saying I got to upgrade to the 1 terabyte of
they do it to
iCloud.
Me. They do it to me too.
That's why I jumped off Apple. Yeah, I don't know.
I can't do it.
So to the last thing, we can look at the Android model, which isn't really tied to any specific device. They're going for Ubiquity, and they are also wildly successful. So both companies can be wildly successful. And for Sony, who is the market leader at the moment, it is very difficult to ask the market leader to say, hey, you're making all this money, now I want you to stop because this other thing. So it's very easy when you're not at the top to make these broad shifts, but the problem is you have to at some point make those changes, right? If the market changes with it.
And I mentioned earlier too, part of this also has to do with, like, Sony, while they're marching down this path, is also publicly traded on the U.S. stock exchange and other stock exchanges around the world. They also have to maintain pace with guidance and with the guidance that they've issued, and shareholders don't like underachieving. They also don't like overachieving, right? So whatever strategy that they set up months beforehand, they've got to stay on that. Everyone, you also brought up the notion. I really didn't talk too much about the PC pipeline, but you're absolutely right. Part of the engineering shift that they have to do is they either have to maintain their current tethering to the DRM schema, which currently today goes through Steam, and I think in Epic as well. But they would have to re-engineer that in order to have a PC storefront that homed back to them versus back to Valve or Epic.
Right.
See, I think a lot you guys are kind of still along the same track that I was on. I mean, today they're not there, but they are building towards this. And I know, like, again, I guess I'd be gaslighting some people in the audience, but like it is, they are building towards PC. And I do think, yes, you're right. They don't have the infrastructure today to do this. They don't have the infrastructure to be ubiquitous, but that's kind of where the industry is going. I mean, that's where people expect everybody. It's not just Microsoft and Sony. Like, that's where they expect everybody to be eventually. And that's why I know now they could be wrong. Like, investors have been wrong before in markets, but
it's just a question, Obi. When you say ubiquity, and maybe this is just me flavoring it, what you're saying with my lens. When you say ubiquity, I think mobile, PC, console, and streaming, right? Yeah. And that's the part that I just don't. I haven't gotten that sense from the Sony strategy. The sense I've taken away is we're going to put it on our hardware and we're going to put it on x86 Windows-based PCs.
Yeah, for now, I think they'll be I think everything, and again, so that's probably a different debate for a different time. But
so, Obi, you think they'll go streaming full on, like, devices outside,
like, not today, not next year.
No. I'm saying like maybe 5 or 10 years as cloud streaming becomes more mature.
That's
right?
Exactly, because eventually,
anyway.
Go ahead, B.
Before they cut everything back, before they took it off of phones, before they took it off of
that was the plan.
The Vita, before they took it off TVs, that was the initial plan anyway. They were just not structured to do it.
Right. And so that's like that's kind of like leads into what my point really was, is I do think eventually the subscription thing does bridge a gap. Now, and I've said this to you before, Enrique, like, not every business needs, we know that different business models work. We also don't necessarily understand Sony's risk appetite. I think Gaming Logic kind of had the point along those lines, and I agree with that. That not every, it's not like if you're not in first, you're in last, right? Like, sometimes as a company,
not according to Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like what Ricky Bobby says, and we learned at the end of that movie that was all he said that while he was drunk. So, like, he learned that while his dad was
his
drunk.
Dad was drunk.
So, like, yeah. So So to be fair, I guess I should preface this. Like, if Sony's goal is to continue to be a market leader in 5 years or compete for that thing, I think their plans are probably going to be different than if they're going to be like Nintendo and say, we're going to choose our own niche. We don't care for number one or number two. We think this is the safe path to grow. We think the consoles are still going to be, super healthy market. 10 years from now, we think it's going to be as big, and we want to take this safe route. That could be the play. Sometimes when I hear Jim Ryan talk, it sounds like he still wants to. The impression I get from him is he wants to be still amongst the market leaders, compete for all that. They are not right now at a stage where it makes sense for them to try to even expand because they can't. Like, they are consoles.
Can I add something to this though that we should all take note of, right? As you know, their job is to be nimble, right? So they're making the most money right now, and they should continue to do that while still being ready to shift with the market as the market makes changes. So if they're preparing themselves for whenever that happens, because subscriptions, Game Pass doesn't rule the world today. Now, a lot of us assume that there will be a day when that's, the big thing. And if they're ready to do that with the way they've structured this service now, it's flipping a switch to go day and date, right? And they just need to make sure they have the development pipelines and all those things in place to be able to do that. And that can happen when it needs to happen. So
Well, that's what I think.
Can I ask the question? Why do people have like the foregone conclusion that Game Pass is absolutely the future?
No.
Like,
That's
all
what
gaming?
I was going to ask, because Phil Spencer has said he expects that there will always be a desire for part of the market to want their hardware, both on PC and console.
Right, but I'm not. So what I'm trying to say is people that expect Sony to do these things because Microsoft has already jumped off the cliff. They don't have to do it. And we should also be clear. Microsoft has been first at a lot of things that they ended up ultimately losing to someone who had better timing, right? So and I think it was Steve Jobs that said, being first, so being too early is the same as being wrong, which means if Sony can ride a wave and be ready for a market shift, if it does occur, it's not guaranteed, they'll be fine. They don't have to do it today. Why? Because they're making all the money today. They just can't let all the money they're making today, they can't let that mess up the potential of the money that they can make in the future.
Can I say one thing though? Like everyone, that's why I want to tag on to what you're saying with that, and that's the whole thing that I was saying earlier. Is like you just said, Sony has to be nimble. Microsoft went all in, emptied the clip, day and date, the whole nine. We don't know if that will be solved. Everybody just keeps saying that
easier to do that when you're in last place. Also,
right? No, that's what I'm saying. You have to.
It's also easier to do when you're a $3 trillion software company.
Right, and all those things, and everything, everything that they're doing falls in line with what they do. But the thing is, everyone, again, they have these foregone conclusions that that's the right way, and that's why Sony has to follow it, and they don't. No, that's not how it works.
I mean, I would contend. We made the comment earlier about Game Pass profitability. I would throw out the hypothesis just for people to consider. I don't know that Game Pass ever has to be profitable, because the answer, right? The question I would have is, what the hell else is that Azure Fabric doing when it's sitting latent and doesn't have an enterprise workload spooled up on it? What the hell else happens to that Azure Fabric that's built out simply to have redundancy, failover, and backup when it's not being used? Game Pass is a leveraging of their cloud capability and the use of latent resources that would otherwise serve little to no purpose. And so I think that they can continue plugging away at Game Pass. The games division isn't even an operating segment that has to report to the SEC, as a discrete unit in their earnings. So I think they can continue to do whatever they want to do with Game Pass for a very long time.
I think that changes in the whole sort of restructuring that they're trying to do on the heels of this Activision thing, because if we look at, and I'm apparently a fan of pie charts recently, right? But right now,
I thought you did that.
Don't bring up those pie charts, Everboard, man.
But the gaming, and in terms of revenue at the company, gaming brings in sort of it's like somewhere between 8 and 9% of their yearly total revenue, right? Windows brings in 13%. And the other large portions are Office and then the cloud services, right? And I think with the Activision purchase, because again, I know, like we said earlier, that PlayStation is more detrimental to Sony as a whole than Xbox is to Microsoft as a whole. But I do think they are restructuring the company with Microsoft Gaming and spending $70 billion, the largest purchase in the history of the company by nearly triple, right? I think LinkedIn was their largest purchase before that for $26 billion. So they do see gaming as important. And I think with that restructuring, and as a result, if the deal does close, I do think they are going to have to start reporting what the gaming division is doing.
Well, they don't have to. I mean, that's a choice for Microsoft to make in terms of what they agree to with the SEC.
I think they will if the gaming division ends up becoming the bigger piece of the pie, because
after Activision, gaming, just revenue-wise, right? I'm not talking about profit, but revenue-wise, the gaming division will be just under Office. It'll be above Windows.
Right. Now, all I'm saying is I don't think size matters. I think it will be whatever they want the optics to be. Right. And Microsoft changes. Sometimes it's profits, sometimes it's revenue, sometimes it's market share.
Sometimes
I'm just saying it's not a guarantee.
They're terrible at reporting numbers.
Hey, so I did want to, Enrique, you brought up a good point, but I want to kind of build off that a little bit because you said, hey, is this like there's no evidence this is the future, and I think kind of agree with a lot of.
This is what I've been telling you, OBM.
No, so I would kind of agree with what a lot of you guys have been saying. There's going to be multiple models. It is part, what they're looking at is this as one of those things. Now, let me just kind of just the final thing of my point was why I think Jim Ryan does want to eventually do this. Today, they don't have the infrastructure to do it. They can't expand with it. They can't really leverage all the benefits that come with with putting something a day and date on a subscription. I do believe that the traditional model will still continue to exist, as does Microsoft. I do believe that
that's not what you told me 2 weeks ago, OBM.
Yeah, stop lying.
Y'all crazy.
Y'all
crazy.
All these different models will continue to exist, but that's exactly why I think Jim Ryan will eventually, when they can take advantage of putting their games in more places, which isn't in the next couple years, but eventually he's going to want to take advantage of that because one of the things that gets overlooked, we talk about is Game Pass making money? Into game logic, I agree. It doesn't even have to directly because one of the things that does act as is it acts as a marketing vehicle. And I think this is the thing that people are going to start to see when you start to have 20 million, 30 million, 40 million people sharing something day and date when it comes out, within the first month that it's out, it does something to the value of that IP. And we've seen that with Netflix. We've even seen it on a smaller scale with some of Microsoft's own games.
Netflix is different. But see, this is the thing. Netflix is different, though. The way people consume interactive entertainment is much different than Netflix.
We've seen the overlap, though, in terms of the virality of content. So if
something like Halo Infinite. I had to throw that out. I messed with you, OB. I had to. Go ahead, man.
Low blow.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's a good example, actually, though, because even at Halo, even with its, not being able to maintain the live service over the last couple months, at launch, there was a lot of people sharing clips. It did get that virality. Same with Forza Horizon 5. A lot of people were sharing that game. And I think you're going to start to see that. And what ends up happening is the virality of the content drives the subscription, which drives more virality in the content.
But I don't think we've seen that though, OB. I mean, you talk about the virality of things like Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite. I don't think it really drove subscriptions. I think the other piece of the puzzle is will people find value in those subscriptions? And that's why I say there's different dynamics at play.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So
I'm not telling people what to buy.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is I don't necessarily I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it's that black and white where it's going to necessarily, and it could. I mean, it could increase, subscriptions. You may get a couple people. I don't want to say a couple. You could get a number of people into the service, but at the same time, I think the flip side of that is that it may not either because people find value in different things. Charles Zeneca said this about Take-Two. He's like, people consume gaming's different as an interactive entertainment, and he doesn't like comparing things like. And I think Sean Layden said this too, gaming subscription service and things like Netflix, because they're kind of two different dynamics. Like Charles was saying, if people probably buy 3 or 4 games a year, they may spend 35 to 40 hours in those games each, and just be happy, And so people may not see the value of spending $180 a year when they may only be playing 1, 2, or 3 games a year, and may not even utilize that subscription. And others may say, you know what, I like that. I like having those options.
Yeah, different segments.
But real quick, Forte. Wait, real quick, Forte. Before you say, I want to introduce representing the Pegasus Nation, Puerto Rock 77. I'm just joking.
No
What's up? What's up, Puerto Rock?
He a man. Don't be calling
What's up, Puerto Rock?
Listen, calling him no unicorn or nothing like that.
I'm Zeus, okay?
Zeus. You are in the clouds. I like who did that for you, Puerto Rock? By the way,
like that. What's up?
Who did that for you, man? That's
overdone me.
Oh man, that
guy is funny. That guy is hilarious. He did that. So I'm like, I'm gonna take this. Yeah, stuff like that. But hey, I appreciate for me to hop on. The reason why I hopped on is because there's information you guys maybe are not aware of, right? Because again, I think Sony does bad messaging, or they're more messaging their investors or whoever, right? The conversation of Game Pass, subscription service in the future of Sony is primarily done because of Microsoft. Because that we all can agree that is Microsoft's main mechanism. It's about Game Pass, and then everything else is just a device to grow Game Pass, right? It's no longer the console. It's Game Pass is the ecosystem, and then every device that they can add on. Like if Sony went to Phil today and be like, hey, you know what? We changed our mind. We want Game Pass on PlayStation. You know damn well Phil's going to do it. He's going to be like, hell yeah. I got access to this entire PlayStation fan base. Shit. Guess what? I'm in Japan now. Hell yeah. He's all about that, right? But because that is Microsoft's main mechanism, in order to have the conversation of competition with and PlayStation's the primary candidate, that's why everybody leaves Nintendo alone, right? Because Nintendo's there, but is there really competition?
Why is that though? No one mentions that.
Because they're doing their own thing. They're handheld, pretending to be a console with 720p graphics at 30 frames. They're all I got.
It's a hybrid console.
It's generous.
It's a hybrid console.
It's generous.
But they out here 30 to 40 million copies.
But they out here living a good life.
Hold on, hey, what'd you say? B to do what?
Listen, but it's your baby brother trying to hang out with your boys. Like, yeah.
Wait. Hey, hold on. B did say
your baby brother making more money than you.
Not PlayStation. He's not. Maybe Xbox, but not PlayStation.
More than PlayStation and after $1 in revenue, but I mean,
okay, listen. Go
ahead.
But here's the thing. So because of that dynamic with Microsoft going all in on Game Pass, right? In order to tie to Sony, everybody's putting Sony in the box, or PlayStation specifically in the box of, hey, are they going to grow? Are they going to do this? Are they building infrastructure? And everybody's looking at Sony. But everybody's ignoring what Sony's actually doing, right? We all saw the chart today, right? Thanks to Everborn. That's where that became like a that became the Elden Ring boss. He's like, oh shit. Everyone's like, I will never do this ever again. He's like, man, screw these damn charts. This shit, they took that shit serious. He's like, what?
Yeah, they did.
But if anyone who looked at the chart, what was the actual moneymaker for PlayStation? If you noticed in the chart, what was the biggest?
It was microtransactions and services.
Now, let me ask you this. What big microtransaction services does Sony have? What big game they have?
That's COD and Fortnite.
That was COD,
right?
yeah.
No, I'm talking about Sony's first party.
Oh.
What do they have?
Now they got GT7.
GT7, maybe GT Sport?
GT7.
People playing Uncharted multiplayer still? Like what?
No.
They don't have.
What they will have soon is all the studios that they've bought that they said that they're going to target towards doing live service games, as well as Bungie's revenue will be vectored in that direction as well.
Correct. Now, but right here, right now, all of that is primarily powered by their third-party relationships. All the Fortnites, the Call of Duties, the Apex Legends. There is a tremendous lot of people who are playing these live services games on PlayStation, and Sony's like, wait a minute. In their third quarter investor brief, which yes, I watched it, right? Content on channel, of course. They said that live service games and the revenue grew 15% consistently since 2014. Every year, it kept getting bigger and bigger by an average of 15%. Okay, and now all of a sudden, out of the blue, their biggest investment that they have done in such a long time was buying Bungie for $3.6 billion, right? Right now, they're focused. Now, of course, we could talk about 20 years from now, whatever, about services. They're focused, at least for this generation, over the next 5, 6, 7-year plan. They're betting the bank on live service game. Not this Game Pass or D&D. That ain't it for them.
So, Porter,
what's it for them is live service.
Just real quick, just to your point. So, but isn't a subscription service, at least as Microsoft views it, isn't that a vector into live service games? So you remove the barrier so you get them spending where you make the real money, the microtransactions?
Well, the two different models
is also.
Yeah, the defensive model is you don't have to, like, let's say if that live service games is like free to play and stuff like that. You don't need like a Game Pass PS Now revenue. You don't even need online. You don't even need to pay online with that model. Right? Fortnite's absolutely free, and it makes more money. And Warzone is free, absolutely free. It's not tied to an actual subscription service, and they're making a killing. That's what Sony's looking at. That's what Sony's looking at.
Warzone's on. The thing about Warzone too, it's on PC and consoles, and maybe to Porter's point, I think what he's saying. I mean, and their investment in PC. Maybe they don't have to have what you're saying, Porter Rock. They could just leverage the hardware platform, PlayStation, and then on PC for these live services games.
Yeah. So the main thing I'm trying to say is, right, they're going after what's already proven to make money. Game Pass, sure, everybody's projecting that it's going to be the big thing, but that's no projection, right? Sony sees what is making money and has been consistently growing 15% for the last 7 years. And they're like, we didn't do anything with it. So while everybody else is like, hey, services per game day, Netflix, all this stuff, Sony's looking around like, wait a minute, do people see that this model is like making money now? And they're projecting it's going to grow 15% again and again and again, right? That is what they're focusing on over the next 5-6 years. They already said they got 10 live service games by 2026. Like, Jesus. Like, that was a shock to everybody. They're all in. They spent $3.6 billion on Bungie. They already have 10 games. They just bought Haven Studios, and her studio's making a multiplayer live service game. Firewalk?
Fire Sprite?
Fire Sprite.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Fire Sprite. Yeah, they're making a live service game. That's where they're going, right? Right now, they're not ready to invest in this day-and-day game streaming because you have to absorb some risk. You have to absorb loss. That's just the nature of the beast.
But your thought is based on the premise that all of those are going to be free to play.
Yeah. So no, they could still sell it because look at Destiny. Destiny up to a certain point is free to play, but for the most part, it's been a purchase game, and everybody had no problem purchasing it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but then, so if you do those games and you do charge for them, wouldn't day and date for those games make more sense? Because then you would deploy them to people on the subscription service where you would gather more revenue.
Yeah, for live service, that could be a strategy because in that case, right, unlike God of War or Spider-Man, you're relying more on the long-term money transaction strategy to make your money, vice the individual sell of the game like God of War. God of War doesn't have an MTX strategy. Spider-Man, Wolverine, these games don't. They solely rely on the sales of that game.
Take this grain of salt. Not saying it's going to happen. I did hear that the games you described would make it into the service they've announced now, day and date. Those types of games.
Because those games.
Now, again, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying this is something that rumblings that I've heard that in fact. But
it could.
Yeah.
Because the economy behind those games is the money transaction. It's not the sale of the game themselves.
Well, and that's the part that keeps getting missed. Like, and this goes back to me again, saying I want to see these companies slug each other out. It doesn't mean I guess what I'm getting at is I expect Sony to continue to build up the value of their subscriptions, whether that means God of War's in their day and date. Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting that in the next couple years, but that could mean you put the lesser tier games in there. You put maybe you discount it, or maybe it's a 3 month later. I think the thing that people undervalue with these subscriptions, and I know that it's not a 1-to-1 with movies, but the one thing that we do see is the virality. Like I said, the virality of things. It helps to market your games. It helps to market your movies. It comes down to accessibility, and I always go back to the example of Fortnite, a failed game that came. It was a AA game. It came out to a thud. Nobody talked about it.
OBM, you're describing McDonald's drive-through, but go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
I'd also say we put the label of availability on that versus accessibility. Yeah. That's just my own nit.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, you're right. You're right. Game Logic. It's I'm. And maybe I'm missing the word there, but the idea is that it's something that more people can play because there's less barriers. And they went to the free to play model. Yeah, I know they copy PUBG, but the fact that it was something that was easy for people to download, that they can download it like almost anywhere, help drive the mind share, and that is where the value of the IPs come in. And so I do, like I said, I think we're going to see over the next couple of years that you're going to see that games that start to like when you start to get a cadence of AAA games, if they're high quality and people are talking about them, they're going to get more of a lift than they would have out of the traditional model. And I don't expect that everybody's going to be in a subscription, but I do think that the people that are on subscriptions do drive the virality of the games for the people that are not. And that is one of the reasons why Microsoft decided they're going to continue.
Elden Ring?
They went from, well, but that's a game that went viral in the traditional model, and I agree, you can still do that. But what I'm saying is, whatever that is, the more barriers that you reduce to those games, the higher it's going to go. So wherever it lands with barriers, it would only land higher from a virality, engagement standpoint without those barriers. And that
still
is
have to buy a PlayStation.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, you do, and so this is one of the reasons why Microsoft went from we're going to buy a bunch of we're going to buy a bunch of studios in 2018 that are probably cheap relatively to let's buy a publisher to let's buy a really really big publisher. It's because what they're seeing is that they're not losing. It's like either the customers going into the Game Pass subscription, or if they're not, because it's not for everybody, like I said with my opening statement, it's not going to be something for everybody. That other consumer base that says, hey, I don't want to engage in that, I just want to buy a few games a year, they're more likely to buy those games now than they would have in that other world, because it does raise those boats, right? It does raise it raises the awareness of those games. It serves as a form of advertising. And I think that's the piece that people that I feel like Jim is going to figure out how to take advantage of that. Today, he does not need to. He actually doesn't make as much sense because they cannot move beyond. They can't even fulfill the demand for consoles right now, and they're probably not going to be able to for 2 to 3 years. So there isn't this immediacy for them to start doing something that might reduce profitability on their current consumers. But again, as a consumer, I want to see these guys slug each other in different ways and continue to push each other.
Yeah.
And that's my last point on it. It's not, we get caught up in narratives. Sony is going to be fine. I don't expect, regardless of what they do, I think they're going to make a lot of money, be around for a long time. As somebody that's just a consumer, I want to continue to see these guys throw blows. I want to see, I'm looking forward to when Sony makes a big acquisition, and when they start to do things that make people look on the Xbox and say, hey, why don't you do more of that? We should, as gamers, no matter what platform you want, you should want for that. You should be pushing. You should be hoping they push each other. I'm fine with people, when people say, hey, Microsoft, why aren't you making, single player narrative driven games that are the scope of God of War and stuff? That's good for everybody who's who games on that platform, and should be vice versa. It's not something that we need to necessarily protect those narratives.
Well,
so
we're still
kind of
Rick was saying that Sony was going out of business after this generation.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying any of that stuff. So
Michael
I'm saying you. That's what Pachter said.
Real quick.
No.
Yeah, real quick, guys. I gotta get some super chats here. I'm behind, really behind. So let me grab these real quick. Then we'll get back to the panel.
I gotta drop, bro, but I'll catch up with you guys later.
All right, E.
All right, hey E, good hearing from you, man.
Later, brother.
See you, E.
Later, always a pleasure, sir.
Have a good one.
Yep. All right, P-Rock. Catch you guys later.
Yep, see you, E.
Take it easy, man.
All right, I got Sir X with a $2 super chat. Says highly recommend people watch Grandma's Boy. It's a classic. It was a good movie. Let's see here. Where are these super chats? Oh my god. Oh, Jonas is. Hold on a sec here. Jonas the dad says got 3 kids at home still. S and kids room, X and PC and living room, Game Pass Ultimate, all the games. What does he say? All the game. Oh shoot, hold on.
Oh Lord.
I lost it. Damn it.
Mm.
Hold on a sec here.
Don't you have OBS?
I do, man. Hold on.
You don't put on the screen where it shows all you the.
Okay, yeah, here we go. 3 kids at home. Okay, I got it back now. 3. Yeah, but it moved. 3 kids. I got 3 kids at home still. S in kids room, X in PC and living room, Game Pass Ultimate, all games me can ever want. 300 plus games, $180 for players. Thank you for that super chat, sir.
That's a great commercial.
That is a great commercial.
I mean, it's why I have GamePass still, because my kids use it. I mean, that's why I've stayed in the service. My kids use it more than I do, but it's great for them. And for them, it introduces them to gaming. So,
I thought you said never mind.
You know what?
He is trying to convert.
You were gaslighting against her. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna start calling you the shell company.
Listen. If the shoe fit, wear it.
No,
I've been called worse, man. After being with my ex,
I don't.
You can't get through to me.
Ricky don't bother me.
Yeah.
All
Continue
right,
with the super chat, sir.
we got NeoWise, who says with a $5 super chat, says Premium has 1,100 games and Game Pass, which has 400. PlayStation has better first-party games of the service day one with Spidey and Returnal, and it's $10 a month. Then we also have, give me a sec here, we got Steady. Huh?
Nothing. Never mind.
What'd you say?
I said that service is $14 a month, but who's counting?
Yeah. Thank you, Forte, for that clarification. Then we got Steady Flow with a $5 super chat, says Everborn. Everborn PlayStation Plus Extra is not the same price as the $15 Game Pass Ultimate. PlayStation Plus Extra is $100 a year, which is $8.33 a month. So not day and date makes sense. Okay.
But the problem is, PlayStation has two ways to pay, and everybody's only siding with one. We got to recognize it's both. Whatever you choose, you chose it. Now, in my opinion, you're crazy going with the monthly route, because the annual route saves so much more money. Extremely much more.
But Rock, I think you're also crazy if you pay full price for Game Pass Ultimate or whatever.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you don't take advantage of these deals, it is what it is. Spend less time fighting on Twitter, more time finding these deals.
Fight for your wallet. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I was shocked that they gave people the yearly option. That was a thing that shocked me on the list when I saw. I said, "Oh wow, they're actually giving a yearly option," because Microsoft doesn't give you that. They only give you the 3-month option to Game Pass, and they give you a 6-month too if you do basic Game Pass. But if you do Ultimate, all you can get is 3 months. And when I saw that Sony, I was like, wow, Sony is actually giving people choice.
I was nervous about that.
I was.
That was my only complaint. And everybody was mad at me. I'm like, bro, if they take away the annual option, that's almost a raise, because I'm just going to stick with the essential, right? Which is $60 a year. Yeah. But if they would have gotten rid of that full year option, then they would have went from 60 to artificially inflated to 120, because it's $10 a month. And I was nervous about that. I'm like, hold up.
Let me ask you guys a question about the yearly pricing, right? Because I've always looked at yearly options is that you're concerned with attrition, right? So you give them a yearly option. That way, when they have it for a full year, that gives you time to either build up the catalog to make it more valuable by the time it's time for them to re-up, or some people will it's easier to remember when you see the charge month to month, but for yearly subscriptions, people forget when it's time to re-up, and now they just charged you, and then you don't cancel it because you just paid them. So now you try to remember the next year, and then they get you for another year, right? And so I say that to say, are the yearly options being so enticing, right? Because it's $18 a month for the premium tier versus basically $10 a month if you pay for it a year front. Most people are going to take the $120 option, but is it that they're concerned that people will cancel the service?
I think
why is Sony doing it? I mean, they're offering those yearly options for the financial health of the company.
I think it's because they would have got backlash, because BRAP, right? He's only paying $120. So imagine if they would have removed it, he would have been like, wait a minute, I got pretty much the same service, but you did a price increase by 60 by X amount of dollars, right, Enrique?
I don't think the optics on it are that simple. I think the main reason they're doing it is for the financial health of the company, is because when you do a subscription service, what becomes more important is operational cash flow, right? And you want to have the longest target line visibility on the consistency of that. That's what's most important to the service side of the industry. When you give people those annual options, what you do is you get a bunch of people signing up for annual durations, and then that is what you were able to report in your earnings statement. That's why people offer those long-term.
Well,
that's true. That is. I think HBO does that because I subscribe to HBO annually. HBO on Max. Yeah, I was when I saw the price, I'm like, oh hell no, I'm taking the annual option.
Any subscription that offers an annualized, even if it's not as a at a discount, I usually buy the year because I get like angry when I see those little $10, $15 coming out my account every month. And then
I do too, Everboard.
It's like these things. It's like death by 1,000 stings.
Oh yeah, I
exactly.
Like just get over it, man. Let's just deal with the pain now. Man, my income tax came today. I'm gonna spend it.
Yeah.
Don't bother me. That's when you re-up. Like February, March.
They give those options for financial reasons, and I think it's just less about like what's best or convenient for their customers. I think one of my things is my feeling about like that super chat and some of the conversations that have gone around. I mean, to me, there's very little point in trying to do direct comparisons between the two services. They're supposed to fulfill two different strategic reasons and two different customer reasons. But when we do that comparison, and I will admit some of it is because I'm just not price sensitive in the difference between a subscription that's $5 or $15, whatever. I'll stop at McDonald's one less time per month, right, on the way back home from work. To me, it's about the content and what the purpose of the content is. And when you look at Game Pass, and again, this is not a matter of what I prefer. This is an articulation of like the different customers that it's targeting. When you look at Game Pass, it's about the new, right? It's about new titles that are coming out. Like we mentioned the day and date thing, but it's also about bringing over those third-party titles. It's also about discovery, right? Because Steam, as much as we, cheerlead for Steam in the gaming community, Steam is abysmal, right? As far as a discovery service is concerned, it's actually much easier for me to kind of go into Game Pass and see those rotating carousels of things that are segmented into different categories and discover games, right? The PlayStation side is about appealing to and meeting everybody's needs for backwards compatibility and nostalgia. So if for whatever reason, again, I don't necessarily understand it, but I see what its service is, right? If you need access to PlayStation 3, PS1, PS2, and PSP games, that's why you do PlayStation Plus, right, at certain tiers. And if you want access to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games without the need to necessarily have discs lying around all over the place, right, then I guess you subscribe at, the middle tier. But I mean, they're hitting at two different types of customers. The people who want access to the new stuff without necessarily paying a per title basis, and the people who want access to the entire, something approaching the entirety of the back catalog through the legacy of their lifetime, essentially, as a gamer on the PlayStation platform.
Yeah, that's a great point, Game Logic, because that was kind of what I always say too on the Twitters, and people can say, they're both subscription service, therefore the same, but people forget there's a motivation behind those services, those things. Yeah, they're trying to do two different things. That often gets lost in the conversation.
But here's the thing, though, about that. And I understand. Like I said, I think everybody has made excellent business cases around this, as far as we can from what we can see in our financial analyst armchairs. Right, we've all done that, and that totally makes sense. But they may be targeting two different things, but they're coming out of the same bank account when I sign up for them, right?
But that's what I'm saying here. What I'm saying that it's for two different types of consumers, right? If I want to pull out my wallet, right, because I want to play the new stuff and I want to be FOMO and I want to be in the conversation and I want access to stuff and I want to be able to discover stuff and have stuff surfaced and presented to me, right? Then Game Pass is more appealing. If I am, and I do not mean this in an offensive way, if I am a PlayStation ride or die, right, and what I've been hungering for this whole time, I mean, when I was on PlayStation and I went from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation, and actually when I went from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, I kept my previous generation console around, right, because that was my only way to access those titles. Whereas for the rest of my gaming career, what I've always historically done is when the next generation thing came out, I took the last generation thing, took it to GameStop, right, and swapped it out and got the money for that and bought the new thing. So for these people who have been hungering for access to the back catalog, right, and so it's just a matter of what do you want your wallet to feed? And for some people who are in that PlayStation ecosystem, I think there's an appeal to having access to that back catalog.
I mean, at the end of the day, the Game Pass is the horse for the Xbox ecosystem right now, and I think with PlayStation, you're right, Gaming Logic. It's basically just one of the items in the cart. So it is two different consumers. And I think at the end of the day, like we're throwing out where we think the market is, and I guess I should preposition things by saying I do, like I really probably see the market in going in a different way than maybe a lot of you guys, and that's why I think Jim will eventually change. But yeah, for the next few years, we understand where they're in different places today, and maybe that's just that's maybe the conclusion or the thing to just accept is that they're in different places today. They have different goals today, and that's what we're seeing.
Sorry, Rock. To your point, OBM, I think a lot of people discount the fact that Netflix spent years and many, many billions of dollars training the consumer to understand what a subscription service is. And once they had done that and gotten people used to that idea, then the Johnny-come-latelys came and they were able to be successful. So again, Sony may do that in the future if Microsoft is successful at training us as customers to say that this is what, because 25 million people is a drop in the bucket in terms of what either of them are looking for. So if they are successful, if they hit 100 million, they hit 150 million, not saying they will, but if they do, and Sony realizes they need to do that, they will, and I think they're positioning themselves in case they ever have to make that decision.
So because I'm listening to Everborn's point, but I think what he's trying to say is, sure, the two companies are targeting two different consumers, but there are consumers that are in the middle. There's gamers who have both. There's gamers who, and they're gonna, and basically what he's saying, they're gonna compare the two, regardless what the strategy is, they're gonna compare the two. All right, let me look at this, blah, blah, blah. You do this. You can only stream PS3 games. No day one. Let me look at Xbox. Day one, third party. Hell, I could get MLB The Show on this too. Blah, blah, blah. And the consumer's going to make a decision like, nah, this service is much better than this service. I think where the problem comes is because of curiosity, people ask, why? How come Sony didn't do this? Why didn't they do it better? How come they're not matching Microsoft? And the only answer is the business strategy.
Well, one of my questions is everyone brought up a good point about Netflix and training customers, right, to go in a direction of a certain desired behavior. One of my questions would be how does Sony do that training on subscription when I would argue that their hardware strategy cuts almost in the opposite direction? So they've got part of their strategy that is oriented around this thing that Jim Ryan messaged just yesterday, which is, hey, we provide you high quality content. We believe that you should pay for that. And so you should pay $70 for that on the next generation console. And that's how we're going to sell you the new stuff. But it feels like, at least today, right, the messaging is, and, now if you want your, footlocker of old content, right, the way you're going to access that is via this, cloud delivered software layer that's going to allow you to, download backwards compatible and or stream backwards compatible stuff.
So for me, I'm trying to understand Everborn's point of training, because remember, Netflix started out as a rental service, right?
Where they sure did.
Yeah, you don't have to walk into the store. They will ship, you just go online, pick every single movie you like, and they will consistently ship it to your door in a rotational basis, right? And then when they started the streaming, they advertised that as, why even wait for the disc? You can access your rentals right now up front. So I don't know if there was much training needed, because that was an easy concept. Like, instead of waiting for a disc, I can see all these movies just by press and play. And that was
so when I say train the consumer, I mean they were really the not the first, but really the most
successful.
Yes, successful at an all-you-can-eat style service.
They breached the success. All right.
It's the Netflix Disney Plus. It's the Netflix Disney Plus comparison. Basically, they built the market, and then that's something else to mention too. It's not like and this goes again to all the Twitter shit that I can't stand. With the fighting about it. Like, this is not a winner takes all, and it's also not. it's not like if you're just because you're first or the biggest that it shuts everybody else out. They've already actually done. There's a lot of the background's been done on these things, and they believe once the market is created, other companies will jump in and kind of just be like the Disney Pluses, the Hulus, or whatever, the HBOs, and that's, and again, that just goes to my point. I do think Sony will find a bigger lane eventually.
Yeah, and to that point, like, so to OBM's point and Game Logic's question, the answer is this may be, antithetical to, where Sony's making their money right now, and how does Sony train the consumer? The answer is they don't have to. They can let others spend that money to do that, and maybe Amazon's spending that money too. And then when the market is created, they can come in and reap the benefits. And business-wise, it's pretty smart.
Yeah,
I want to extend the question though, right? Because Puerto Rock was, I think, leaning in the direction that he wasn't sure that there was much training. I would contend that there was training with Netflix, and actually they had to untrain people from the thing they themselves had created. They had trained everyone to get, I don't want to say addicted, but to become accustomed to that modality of we deliver you 2 DVDs at a time, 3 DVDs at a time. Then they introduced streaming, and their strategic problem when they did that was they then had to convert and convince everyone to stop ordering DVDs. That was a problem they created that they had to get off of, because part of the cost they were absorbing was shipping those things around. So there was a concerted effort in the Netflix strategy to then convert and transition everyone over to streaming. Then the hitch that they had to put in their step was once they had converted people to streaming and it started to plateau, right, in terms of gained subscriptions, which may quite honestly be the answer to my own question, then they had to go down the path of, we need to start creating our own original content, right, to keep this growth pattern going.
I would think that the whole training part of that was kind of not in void once they put the app on computers and people's TVs and made it so you had to go through 50 different menus to get to the option to even rent a DVD anymore. Like, some people don't even know you can still do that. You can still go to Netflix website and still rent a DVD if you want to.
Yeah, I just gotta go.
You just got to go through the settings to get it. They just made it super easy for you to download an app. They say, hey, download the app, do this, do that. And once they did that, people started realizing like, I can just watch this natively right here without having to rent anything. And they really didn't have to do anything but get people accustomed to downloading an app and do it.
Yeah, but I think that, I think today, because it's so ubiquitous and every other company is doing it, I think we can kind of take for granted what Netflix was able to accomplish.
Yeah, right? They finessed the heck out of a lot of people to get where they are.
That was a big deal when you could stream on the 360 like Netflix.
It was.
Oh yeah, it was. It was huge.
It was huge. It was because it was on.
That was a big deal.
Xbox,
Yeah.
It was on Xbox before it hit PlayStation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Microsoft got the rights for the app for like a year or two, timed exclusive app rights. Because PlayStation, you had to insert the disc.
You had to put you had to get the disc from Netflix. I forgot about that.
This made no sense. I was mad as hell.
I was like, man, I can't let my game install while I'm watching Netflix. So I gotta have this
funny.
disc in here.
But that was a smart play by Microsoft. But
the last thing, the funny thing is, I agree with everything everybody is saying. I just ultimately think that the gaming sphere is so big. I mean, you gotta just look at Nintendo. Nintendo was probably so happy that they ain't even gotta have this conversation. They ain't nobody telling them that they gotta them that they gotta put all their first party games in the streaming service. They basically tell you that we're gonna give you old games inside of our subscription service. Oh, you miss the eShop? Oh, you miss all those older games? Oh, guess what? We're gonna give you those older games for $50 if you subscribe to this service. And
you want something new? You get to buy this cardboard box for.
Oh man,
that's what I'm trying. But you got to think about it.
They don't say nothing.
No, but think about it. That's what you don't think Sony sees that. they look at that like, wait a minute, we can still have an ecosystem where we can have, like Rock said, we can dive into our games and service side. We can still reap the benefits of all of the extra money we're getting from microtransactions from third party, and we can enhance that with our first party offerings that we're going to add over the course of the next 3 or 4 years. And we can still sell our first party title games and still make bank that way, and then turn around and put it on PC and make more money that way. And the reason they think they can do that is because they see Nintendo do it all the time. And they don't even do it on a they do it on one platform.
Oh,
man. And that's why I think Sony is super against doing what you guys are saying that they probably are going to do at some point. Because the moment I will tell you Sony will be willing to bend the knee to what Microsoft is doing and put their games into a service like that is the moment Nintendo isn't successful anymore. Because guess what? Nintendo literally wakes up every day and they look at this scenario and they say, you know what? Y'all make more money than we do. Absolutely. They are on the lower end when it comes to the revenue side of profitability. But what do? They sell like crazy to the people that they know they're going to sell to. And guess what? Those people are probably the same people that go out and buy an Xbox or a PlayStation 5. And they're in a subscription service like GamePass, or they're going to be in this platinum tier for PlayStation. But guess what they aren't going to be doing? Getting Nintendo games on a discount. And you know what? They're going to be perfectly fine with that, because Nintendo has set a precedent with them saying that if you want quality and you want that seal of approval, however much that still means in 2022, you're going to pay full price for our games and you're going to be happy with it. And people are going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Right. The truth of the matter, this conversation.
Just one correction.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nintendo's profit margins is higher than PlayStation. The PlayStation revenue.
Well, the revenue. No, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, revenue is higher, but
profit.
Profit is
higher.
Through the roof.
Yeah, because they're lean. They barely do anything.
They don't do anything. They don't do anything.
And they make you buy the same game 8 times over. I think.
And it's $60 for 5 years.
Yeah, you're right.
It was very cheap to make hardware that was like based on stuff from 13 years ago.
I think a lot of the conversations, I think we've been trying to work through it and come to a place of, everybody's unique perspective. But obviously on Twitter, there's a desire to try and corral people into, you must have one opinion. I think part of the problem that, across the board is everybody, there's a strong theme of discussion of trying to determine what is the right strategy. And I think BRAP was kind of heading in this direction. I think, what we are very likely in for is there are going to be 3 relatively unique strategies across Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. None of them are going to be, one-to-one relatable, and they're all going to be uniquely tailored to the way that company makes content. I think BRAP and I talked about this earlier this week. The war is really over content, and it's really over eyeballs, and it's really over time. And for that reason, each of those 3 companies has to chart slightly different paths, right, to get where the best place is for them to go.
That's
And just to that.
I'm sorry, everyone. Real quick. I'm going to give you the last word. It's 11:30. I do need to wrap up, but I got to get super chats. Go ahead, finish your thought real quick, everyone.
No. I was just going to say, to Game Logic's point, the wants, desires, business strategies, and goals of these businesses, these companies, do not always align with what is best for you as a customer, and you have to take that into consideration. And that was the only point I was trying to make on Twitter. We should question these things. I know we have our favorites or whatever, and there's certain horses we're rooting for, and just because things are logical and make perfect business sense for a company doesn't mean it makes good sense for you as a consumer, or it does. But we should just ask those questions.
My quick point is it's true that I think that you got 3 companies with 3 different strategies, but these topics of game streaming or service or Game Pass day and date, these are just the mechanism to how we're gonna access the content and how much money we're paying to access it. But I think at the end of the day, regardless of the mechanism of how they're monetized, it comes down to the quality. Is this the game you want to play? Not so much, is it in Game Pass? Is it traditional, whatever. If the platform has the games you want to play and these are the titles you want to play, that's what gamers are going to gravitate to at the end of the day. The monetized mechanism is going to hold very little weight if they're not attracted to the content that you want to play. If the content's not there, if these are not the games you want to play, then you're not going to play them regardless of how they feed them to you. It's just not what you want to play. You want to play these games. I don't want to play these games. And I think at the end of the day, gaming has always held tried and true to that model. And I think it's because gamers are more critical about games than, let's say, movie enthusiasts are with movies. Because we will nitpick the hell out of a game. Like, when was the last time you seen somebody pause a movie and be like, yeah, that lighting don't look right? Nah, trash. Trash-ass movie. You know, we don't do that for movies, right? You know, we're not that critical. Yeah, we're not that critical.
Star Wars fans
I think the only time I seen something like that was Game of Thrones because of the Aquafina bottle, but that was more like a joke.
Yeah.
But that was just funny. It wasn't like people weren't mad. It was just funny. Like, oh man, they love their Aquafina. Yeah. But that's about it.
Real quick, gentlemen. Again, I do need to wrap up because I got to get to bed.
Okay.
But I want to get to well, I got to end the show, sir.
we'll take over from here, BRAP.
Let me grab these super chats real quick. Let me grab these super chats. Neo Wise with the $2 super chat says it's $9.99 if you pay the yearly sub. Neo Wise again with the $2 super chat says more than half the 50 million PlayStation subs pay yearly. And then Texas with the $5 super chat says Game Pass Ultimate Annual is $180. I've paid for it the last 2 years. Why do they keep saying there's no year option? I don't know who said that.
Because there is no yearly option. He is paying the flat $14.99 a month. And when we're talking about yearly
yes, that's right. Yes.
When we say yearly options, we're talking about, technically Xbox Live is $120 if you pay monthly. Yes. But they give you a subsidized price of $60 if you pay it for the year. So that's what we mean a yearly option, not the fact that you're paying the regular price, but they don't offer anything but $44.99 every 3 months if you want to buy it in bulk. Other than that, you're paying month to month.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's why you got to buy it on sale.
Yes. You got to stack.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen. Well, first I want to thank everyone in the live chat for hanging out with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Hit the like button, and if you're new to the show, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Want to give a big shout out to Eric Jackson, who had to leave. But want to give also a big thank you to our guest this evening, Porter Rock. Man, great having you on. Sorry it took so long to get back to you on DM. I wasn't.
Okay, no problem.
I wasn't paying attention. But no, man.
I was only refreshing the screen every 3 seconds. Did he look at it? 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 Did he look at that?
But no, man, I certainly appreciate you coming on, man. Always a pleasure, talking shop with you. And also want to give a big thank you to Game Logic, man. Always, really always enjoy, talking shop with you as well. Always insightful. So, thank you again for joining us this evening. And then my buddy OBM, who's always gaslighting people on Reset Era.
I'm always gaslighting.
Yeah,
gaslighting your chat. Gaslighting, you. But yeah, thanks for thanks. Actually, I should thank Gaming Forte for letting me speak. That's why I came on the show, so I could get my point in, because I know you're going to cut me off when we start continue this debate tomorrow.
Yeah, we will. We'll continue this. I'll call you in the morning. We'll continue this debate.
Yeah, just stop by my store and I'll tell you how to bypass all that.
Oh my goodness! All right.
I'm kidding. Enrique, I do want to say just one quick thing, and not about the topics, but just in general. It goes back to I see all the time, people fighting with each other, getting hot about this stuff on Twitter and things like that. We don't, like you said earlier, we don't agree on half the stuff at least. But at the end of the day, this industry is really exciting. It's bigger. And I made predictions, but I could be wrong on the predictions. But the one thing I don't think I'm wrong on is that the industry is, just based on everything that's going on, this industry is going to grow a lot. There's a lot of room for everybody to be successful. As gamers, you should be focusing on, enjoying this damn hobby instead of, having anxiety over it. And if you can't talk about that stuff without the anxiety, then maybe, just go play some games and step away from it. But I do like the fact that we can, not always agree and still, still be friends. Right. And that's I think an important note. It's not that important. At the end of the day, we are just talking about gaming. It's just, we're having fun with that.
OBM, I miss the days where you could, play the dozens about these things without people crying and threatening to fight you. Like, there used to be a time where you could argue about console stuff and it's just jokes. The same way you argue about sports teams. You can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You can't do it anymore because everybody's like, it's like a religion for everybody.
Yeah.
They overdo it. They overdo it. They go after your family. Boy, you don't know how many times a day I want to do Will Smith on somebody.
You can always find a reason.
I felt that, man. I'd be like, yo, bro, I feel you. I feel you right now.
I want to slap him too.
Yeah. But,
I wasn't trying to come down from the mountain with the tablets and say that PC gaming is the only way to game or the only high quality. So I apologize if I antagonize you guys in chat. Just showing
no, Game Logic, you don't have to apologize. It is, in fact, it is the best place to play video games.
Listen, Gaming Logic, you could come down from the mountain with the testaments in your hand and spill that craziness if you want to.
Make sure you update those drivers before you come down.
Exactly.
And Game Logic, you hear the slander. And it's not tablets, Game Logic. You're coming down with GPUs in each hand. Yeah.
All that stuff's automated, by the way, guys. Now you can just do that with the click of a button.
Yeah, I was going to say that it is automated. Well, Everborn wouldn't know that because he doesn't use his 3080. So
you need to write a script to get it automated. Go to a Russian website.
No.
The way I have to do the way I install a game on PlayStation, it tells me it's installed, and then when I go to start it, it tells me that I have to install the update, and then when it downloads the update, and then I go to start it again, it tells me I have to install the update.
You didn't have to reinstall C++. Is all I'm saying.
And on that note, want to give big shout out to Everborn Saga who joined us as well. Everborn, always a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate your time as always.
C++.
Yes. Everborn Saga everywhere. That's all the socials. Everborn Saga on YouTube, but go to everbornsaga.com. We can get these amazing books that we make, and the Redlands from the Kickstarter is available right now. If you missed the Kickstarter, you can buy the book right now on everbornsaga.com. And if you're not in the States, you can go to Amazon and get it, and it'll work with your Prime subscription.
Nice, man. Nice. Last but not least, we got B Money 101. B, man, always a pleasure, sir. Did we lose B? Uh-oh, maybe we did. All right.
You reminded him to update his drivers.
They're updating. He'll be back in 30 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Forte. Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure. DPS tomorrow. Whose channel?
My channel.
All right. 9 p.m. Eastern time, right?
Tomorrow, tomorrow 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a good show with the homeboy Slow-Mo Backslap. Go check out that man's Elden Ring review. It's doing IGN numbers over there right now for some reason because he's doing a great job. But
that's because it was better than IGN's review.
It probably was. It was.
And he played the game.
And he played the game. It's a really good review. I really liked it. But go check it out. But then check us out on DPS tomorrow 9 p.m. Also, the Halo season episode 2 is tonight, guys. So just be forewarned. Don't get upset. It might be pretty bad tomorrow. We don't know. But
hated it.
I won't spoil it like I did last episode because how pissed off the episode had me. But let's just hope that the next episode is better than the first one.
Hey, I have a question about that.
And Spartans are not Mandalorians, but yes.
Exactly. What's up, P-Rock?
Is that a shot at me? Because I said that. Hey, I just have that. Yeah, I said that last night. And so I said Mandalorian went 2 seasons without showing his helmet. Very first, anyway.
But there was a narrative purpose for that. There's nothing in the lore that says Spartans don't take off the helmet.
Hey,
We
But that's
didn't
a
get Enrique to
conversation.
bed.
I'm just saying, hey, I just have a question. How does it feel that Paramount Plus has more Halo content than the actual console?
Woo!
Yeah,
Zing!
never mind. I'm sorry.
I can't answer that question because I haven't booted Halo Infinite since January.
Oh shit!
Oh my god! All right.
I don't know what content they got on that game.
Yeah.
Right now.
All right. Yeah. All right. All right. I gotta go. BRAP's got to get to bed. But no, thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back next week at next Wednesday 9 p.m. Eastern time. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We are out. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Later, guys.